too much for me. Hey, Yahweh, you are too much for me. Jehovah Elohim God, you are too much for me. Jehovah Rabboni, you are too much for me. Ancient of days, you are too much for me. You are more than enough. You are too much for me. You are bigger than the world I see. You are too much for me. No one like you, Lord. You are too much for me. Nobody would ever take your place, Lord. You are too much for me. You are too much for me. You are too much for me. You are too much to me. You are too much for 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 me. You are too much, Jehovah. You are too much for me. 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 You are too much for me.
The top 10 poorest countries in Africa. Over half of the nations in Africa are considered the poorest countries in the world. Even though the continent is fast developing, there are many African nations that aren't showing economic growth. Welcome to On Age App. On today's countdown, we will be talking about the 10 poorest countries in Africa. But before we start, be sure to subscribe to On Age App for more interesting videos. Number 10. Madagascar, previously known as the Malagasy Republic, is an island country in the Indian Ocean, approximately 400 kilometers off the coast of East Africa. The nation comprises of the island of Madagascar and numerous smaller islands. Madagascar gained independence in 1960. The country is officially governed by constitutional democracy since 1992. According to reports, the population of Madagascar is just over 22 million. More than 90% of its population lives on $2 per day, which is due to political instability. The income per capita of Madagascar is estimated at $450, which depends upon its agricultural production. According to the United Nations, Madagascar belongs to the group of least developed countries. Malagasy and French are both official languages of the country. Ecotourism and agriculture, paired with greater investments in education, health, and private enterprise, are key element of Madagascar's development. As of 2017, the country's economy has been weakened by political crisis, and quality of life remains low.
Yahweh, you are too much for me. Yahweh, Yahweh, oh, Yahweh, you are too much for me. Hey, Yahweh, oh, you are too much for me. Jehovah Elohim God, you are too much for me. Jehovah Rabboni, you are too much for me. Ancient of days, you are too much for me. When I was down, you lifted me up.
Bobi Wine is Uganda's musician turned politician.
That transformation was the desire for me to speak for myself and those around me. So my music basically was like poetry, ghetto poetry. I mainly pushed it forward because I felt there was something to communicate.
Bobi Wine has since seen his profile rise. After winning a parliamentary seat in 2017, he is now a leading opposition figure in Uganda under his People Power movement. It aims to boost democracy, human rights and the rule of law in Uganda. In July this year, the 37-year-old opposition leader announced he will stand in his country's 2021 presidential elections. He plans to run against Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has been in power since 1986. Bobi Wine will be banking on a young generation to be behind him.
Our chances, in my estimate, are between 80 and 90% win, especially if we had a free and fair elections.
President Museveni has previously described Bobi Wine as an enemy of progress, saying the legislator has discouraged foreign investors from coming to Uganda. His political pathway has already proven a challenging one. He has in the recent past been arrested and prosecuted. But Bobi Wine says nothing will stop him. Bobi Wine hopes that the country's young people will be inspired by his ambition, and despite capturing the imagination of many, the 2021 election will be the biggest litmus test of his political career. Leon Senyange, SABC News, Kampala, Uganda. From
LPR TV, thank you for being part of this program. As usual, discussions, information from the New England Bureau of the Liberia Public. Welcome to this program. We want to welcome our viewers and listeners across the globe. I am Afonso Ziansot of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR TV. Thank you for being here this evening in this beautiful discussion here. Hopefully they will do all a good here, so that we're going to have information here to discuss. I've been out of behind this microphone for pretty close to 2 weeks, but notwithstanding, it's better late than never. And hopefully this network will do us a good favor here this evening. My guest will be joining me here very shortly here. I want to welcome my man Dennis Jad. I will follow you this evening. What a fascinating discussion with the young generation, and I think that's what we need to be doing at this time. I am Afonso Ziansot of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR TV. Very shortly, my guest will be joining me. A lot of things I unfolded during the past couple of weeks when we were away, but we will still find time to have discussions on those high call issue. That is Bobi Wine and the opposition, a young guy from Uganda. They on his political journey, what he did during this Saint COVID-19. This is a guy he was like 4 years old when Yoweri Museveni took over in Uganda. He's 34, very young man, but his conversations is extraordinary. What is leading to the failures of the oppositions in Africa? We're going to be talking all of that. My man, Afonso is here, is a strong advocate. We're going to be looking at a wide range of issues, things that happened during the course of the week. We're going to be having all of these discussions. These and many more are going to be part of our today's discussion here. I'm Afonso Zienso, and I will be right back.
Okay, folks, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and a pleasant welcome to Spoon TV. We are a team of Capital Building reporters who have come here to speak to a Liberian who is accusing the legislature of not paying him after a hard labor. So he's before us, and he has also alleged that he was flogged this morning by securities assigned to the speaker. Let us now join him to get more of what happened. Good morning and welcome. What's your name?
Good morning. My name is Ross Wing.
Mr. Wing, what are you doing here?
I'm protesting for my money. I got a company called LIBERIA Training Company. I was hired by the speaker to pinch here because in January, the president will come here for a inaugural speech. So he said the building will not be the day for the president to enter.
You mean
the speaker?
The state of
national address in January. So on the 5th, here myself discuss it. He said, come on the 6th because it's emergency for president to come is very close up. So he signed a document and said the very 6th. Yeah, no. Call the number on the document that I bid for this contract.
So the speaker is the one who called you that you want the bid.
That the maintenance director called me that I want the bid. So he and myself went to the speaker along with a co-chair on rule and order, Melvin Cole. We went there, the speaker signed the document. He told me, say, this project is very urgent. You can do all you can to do this meeting before the president can come.
The speaker doing that?
Yes. So I hired 21 person to do the meeting because of the emergency. So I went to the bank because I pre-finance. I went to GM Bank, I credited $19,000 US. I made paper for only 1 month and the other interest. So when we went, the very first money that entered in the building was for part payment of my money, the air condition, the curtain, the raw for the building because the president was coming to beautify it. When the money came out, they said there were 10,000 allocated, but after sharing the money, they know where the money went. So hold your peace. They're talking to small children. So hold your peace. I waited, the January came and passed. February, the bank started reminding.
Robert Chagulani, a pop star turned politician who's known by the stage name Bobby Wine, is recognised as the new face of Uganda's opposition. But his rise to prominence has not been without its challenges. Bobby Wine's popularity is considered a threat to President Yoweri Museveni, who's been in office for more than 30 years. His government has arrested and prosecuted Bobby Wine several times, and the opposition figure has accused security forces of torturing him. But the 37-year-old is not holding back his ambition. In fact, he's now directly challenging President Museveni in elections expected to be held in 2021. But will his popularity be enough to get him elected? And what are his plans for the way forward? Uganda's Bobby Wine talks to Al Jazeera. Bobby Wine, leading opposition politician from Uganda, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera. And let me start by asking you to tell us what's wrong with things in Uganda right now.
I will try to be diplomatic and say many things are wrong, but if I was to be real, I would say almost everything is wrong, and it all begins with leadership. We have what many people describe as a kleptocracy for a government, which we hope to make better.
It's relatively recent that you've emerged on the political scene. You were, before that, a musician. Why did you decide to go into politics?
I'm a musician, social activist, and a ghetto youth who recently, I call it recent, but it's 2 years ago, decided to run and become a member of parliament.
So was it a natural evolution from that to politics, or was there a moment that made you decide to get involved in politics?
I would say it was a natural evolution because initially, like any other young man, I was singing about the girls and the parties and everything. But, you know, over time, after realizing that indeed my music and my lyrics was influencing so many people, especially the young people, I decided to channel it to positivity, and it was working well. However, there's this one time about 10 or something years ago when I got a personal attack. I was beaten by my age mate, and my crime was showing off. That is a time when I had just gotten a brand new Escalade, and he claimed that I was showing off as if I didn't know that.
Showing off a flash car?
Showing off a flash car, as if I did not know that the country actually had owners. That communicated so much about the injustices that so many people had been going through in my full glare, and I decided to make injustice my enemy, and that is when I started singing what now the regime calls political music, trying to address those injustices. However, I reached a time when I realized I could not keep just talking about them through my music, and that's why I decided to get into actual politics so I could have a more formal platform in the Parliament of Uganda to address these issues, and that's what I've been doing.
And you've been an MP for 2 years now.
Yeah, I've been an MP.
But the government's targeting of you has continued since you've been an MP. Not only is your music banned, your concerts banned, but you have faced attack. Tell me about the incident when your driver was killed.
Well, I said it the day I went to Parliament, that since the Parliament refused to come to the ghetto will come to the Parliament. I wanted to articulate those issues that the regime, the government, and those people that rule over us had ignored for a very long time. Of course, when I got into Parliament, it brought a lot of attention of the common people. They picked interest in the politics, and indeed they started pushing me and suggesting that I run for president. Now, this infuriated the president that we have, who has for a long time been regarded as all-powerful, and I started getting attacks, and the most ferocious attack was the assassination attempt on my life in Arua, which took the life of my driver instead of mine.
And you were arrested after that?
Yeah.
What happened to you when you were in custody? You were tortured, yes?
Well, I was tortured, I was beaten and humiliated. You know, the regime planted 2 machine guns on me, and the spokesperson of the National Police in Uganda actually came out and said those guns were found in my room, only to withdraw the charges just a week later.
That was in 2018.
Yeah.
This year, again, the attacks on you have continued.
Well, the attacks on me have continued, but not only me. And I always say that I feel honored to see that my plight is highlighted, but this is the same plight that so many people are going through, or even worse, people that are unknown, people that you will never know about. And that is why every opportunity I get, I try to shine a light on their plight, because I am only representative of what they are going through. The attacks have continued. I'm a musician, but my music has since effectively been banned in the country. I cannot stage any concert. I cannot be allowed to address a public gathering, not even in my constituency, which elected me to office. And yes, more than twice, I went to church, and the church was tear-gassed by the regime, because President Museveni and the regime that he presides over is so scared of anybody that communicates words that open the eyes of the people of Uganda.
Let's talk about President Museveni. You were, I believe, 4 years old when he came to power.
Yeah.
You probably, well, I'm sure, don't remember Uganda without Museveni, and that's a large part of the Ugandan population.
Yeah, I'm 37, but I've never realistically experienced a Uganda with another president, and it is more than 80% of Ugandans that are in the same situation, you know, and that really gets us disturbed. We have been denied an opportunity to contribute to our country. We've been excluded as a new generation, and we desire to contribute to building a country which we know we are going to live in, because certainly the people that are making decisions for us are not going to be there to either benefit or suffer from the decisions which are evidently wrong that they are making for us.
If you look at the history of Uganda since independence from the colonial rulers, the British, it can really be summed up with 3 names: Milton Obote, Idi Amin, and Yoweri Museveni. Now, 2 of those, Obote and Amin in particular, were very, very brutal. Would you accept that when Museveni came to power first, he rescued your country?
Well, that has been said. We've always been hearing that while growing up, until we grew up old enough to see with our own eyes. And I would say without fear of contradiction that Museveni's rule is much more brutal than the rules that have been there before. Only that President Museveni has been extremely smart, and we must give it to him. You know, the world sees President Museveni, and indeed many people describe him as a benevolent dictator, or a dictator in a suit. To the Western world, President Museveni has always cast this image of a democrat, but back home he has stepped on all rights and all freedoms, and he has ruled Uganda with an iron fist.
What do you say to international investors and to governments, to diplomats who say, better the devil you know?
Well, to the international community, to the international investors, and to all the organizations that are working with Uganda, first and foremost, I want to thank them for always choosing to be friends of Uganda. They've supported our healthcare system, and yes, they've supported our military. But we know that we are also citizens of the world, and what unites us should not be only business. It should be the values that we share together, values like democracy, values that the respect for human rights, and values like zero tolerance to corruption. So I request them to always hold the administration accountable. Let them make the observation of human rights and the rule of law a precondition for cooperation with Uganda, so that ultimately they are dealing with Uganda not to the detriment of Ugandans. We want the international community, and in particular the United States of America, to be dealing with Ugandans and not with Museveni himself. Otherwise, the United States supports so much of our military operations, especially in the fight against terror. But you see that the corruption that is ongoing in Uganda, and indeed the corruption of President Museveni himself, has caused that aid to again be used to repress the people. I've always noted that the gun that was used to extrajudicially execute my driver was an American gun.
I've interviewed President Museveni 3 times. In fact, he's been on this program sitting in the chair where you are. He seems supremely confident. Do you think he's afraid at all of losing power?
The only thing that President Museveni is scared of is losing power. And that is why today in Uganda, the major preoccupation of the government is the grip on power. It explains why President Museveni moves with stashes of money, just bribing anybody. It explains why our police force is reduced to now playing politics other than keeping law and order. It explains why the military, high-ranking military officials are coming out to denounce the the People Power movement. The Minister of Constitutional Affairs is a soldier, and he came out and said, we shall fight people power using the military and air force. I mean, we are only young people that are not armed. We are only using words to assert what we want. And we're not even inciting violence. All we are saying is that we want to be regarded as human beings in our own home. So the desire to maintain the grip on power has made President Museveni descend down to unimaginable levels.
The Constitution has been changed twice. It used to say that you're only allowed to be president for 2 terms. He's now done 5 terms. It used to say that you're only allowed to be president if you're younger than 75. He'll be 76 next time there is an election. What do you think is the president's plan? Do you think he plans to rule until he dies, or do you think he plans to hand over power to his son or maybe his wife?
Well, I wouldn't want to say I think. I would want to say I know that President Museveni plans to rule for life, and maybe after he dies in office, probably he wants his son or his wife to take after him, which is wrong, which is unacceptable, which we are going to fight until the end, because Uganda is not a monarch. Uganda is a democracy, and all Ugandans should be included in the governance of Uganda. But most importantly, it should be the people of Uganda to make the decision. You talked about our constitution. Yes, our constitution used to provide for that, but still our constitution, although it has been changed so many times, the constitution as it is provides for fundamental rights. It provides for the freedom of association. It provides for the freedom of speech, and all these freedoms are being stepped on. Recently, it was on international TV when Dr. Kizza Besigye was brutalized. He's a political opponent. And myself, I'm a political opponent to President Museveni, but I cannot be allowed to address any crowd anywhere. I cannot even be allowed to access radio or TV stations, especially in the countryside. Why? Because President Museveni is very, very scared of the message that we bring. He's very scared of the fact that 85% of the population of Uganda is my age and younger. He's very scared because he sees the signs everywhere. People are yearning for change.
What about his own party, the National Resistance Movement? Do you think he's got trouble inside the party too?
Well, it's very evident that President Museveni has trouble in the party. itself. I mean, even in the People Power movement, we are working with more than 10 members of parliament who actually belong to the ruling party, but they see the truth because the truth is constantly being told them by their voters. They want change. So I believe that the wind of change is blowing even in President Museveni's bedroom.
Perhaps the most important quote ever from President Museveni came in his first year in office when he wrote a book, What's Africa's Problem? May I quote from that? The problem of Africa in general, and Uganda in particular, is not the people, but leaders who want to overstay in power. Now, I picked him up on that quote when I spoke to him 6 years ago in 2013 on this programme, and he said, no, staying in power without elections. I'm in power because of elections. And he has been repeatedly re-elected.
President Museveni used to say those things when he was around my age. 34 years later, he doesn't want to hear what he said when he was still, in my opinion, sober. So there's only one explanation for that. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely.
There have been allegations that previous elections were not free and fair. In your view, right now, is President Museveni the legitimate president of Uganda?
Well, I'm very convinced that Dr. Kizza Besigye won the previous elections. And I would believe that even if Museveni could have won the past elections, the way he's handling the people of Uganda makes him lose his legitimacy. However, we are looking at the opportunity of 2021 for the Ugandans to assert their voices, which we are sure they are going to.
Do you see a trend in Africa? I mean, look, for example, at Zimbabwe. Look at other parts in North Africa, at Algeria, for example. Do you see a trend that older leaders are now being forced to give up power?
Well, the wind of change is blowing. It's only those that have decided to cover their ears and eyes that don't see it. But the wind of change is blowing. Those of us who were young are now grown. We were babies, now we are parents. We are demanding the right to shape the future for ourselves and our children, and we will stop at nothing. This is not only happening in Uganda, it is happening all over Africa. You've seen what happened in Burkina Faso in the past.
Re-election, simple as that. I'm not playing around here tonight, folks. My opinion, Senator Dillon, if nothing else happens, if this is it, if this is all they have, then he's definitely just going to walk through the park and win re-election. I'm just giving it to you as it is. This is the conclusion I'm giving you. You know how when you are in school, they tell you to write paper. Some people go like that, they narrow, then they bring it down. Some people put conclusion on top, then they start talking about it. Well, I decided to put my conclusion on top tonight. Okay? So if this is what they have, on a very serious note, then they have nothing. They have nothing. Here's my reason, folks. Before the election of Senator Dillon, there were a lot of things that was happening, and people, you never heard of these things. So Senator Dillon campaigned on Facebook, literally campaign on Facebook, and campaign all over.
People know their functions. Look at all the ministries in Liberia. Tell me what they are doing. Tell me the work of all those assistant ministers, their work, what they are doing. What are they doing? Nothing. The employment is just to go sit in the ministry, even go late and leave. Look at the gender ministry. What are they doing? Nothing. The education ministry is not prioritizing education. The commerce ministry only worry about getting money and sharing with the president. The government is not even putting any money in private sectors that will provide jobs for the people. So thereby, the whole system is so bad, corrupt.
The Republic of Niger. You know, Niger is a member state of ECOWAS. I just told you ECOWAS is
the Economic Community of West African States. It is the regional economic and political organization of all West African states. And in West Africa, you have 15 states, including Liberia. In the whole of Africa, you have 54 states. So the chairman of ECOWAS suggested to the commission that there was a need for all of the presidents to come together through a teleconference or through a conference call. There was a need for all heads of state to come together through a teleconference.
Okay, it's good, right? Let me again say the pleasant good evening to all of you joining us on our live Facebook feed. It's been a very long time, but very interesting time in our country, and it's a very good day as usual. Coming here on our live executive mansion page again to speak to the people of Liberia and those of our followers and friends around the world. This evening we are indeed concerned, and we are pleased that we can be a part of the global village. We can be a part of a society that is running with news. Some of the news are factual news, some of the news are fake news, some of the news are disturbing news. But in a crisis period, we ought to be very careful how we go about disseminating information. I'm pleased to be here, and I bring you greetings from His Excellency Dr. George Manawia, the President of Liberia, who is doing very well. We've come here tonight to speak to a few things, and of course it's indeed a very big concern, not just for some Liberians, but followers of Liberia who's been calling in as of this evening, our time here in Liberia, and asking some of the questions. And we feel that it is our obligation to speak to some of the information that you are hearing, and to speak with clarity to those information. It is for you to believe, or to believe what you've already heard. But again, as we speak, it becomes official.
are the truth in the world of the Donald.
The thing is, that report wasn't about Trump. It didn't even mention him. It was about Russian propaganda. And it raised an interesting question. How could a powerful leader benefit from telling obvious lies?
He signed more bills than any president ever.
The president just simply lies for no reason.
I was against the war in Iraq.
Why lie about something that you don't have to lie about?
You have people registered in 2 states. They vote twice.
Why does he keep repeating it if it's obviously not true?
We're gonna get to Trump in a minute.
Hell yeah.
But before that, we have to talk to Christopher Paul.
I'm a senior social scientist at the RAND Corporation.
He co-wrote the report on Russian fire hosing, and he described it as having 4 key characteristics.
Russian propaganda is high volume and multi-channel. It's rapid, continuous, and repetitive. It makes no commitment to objective reality, and it makes no commitment to consistency.
Ooh, sounds like Trump.
Can you give me a second? I'm building a narrative here. The first 2 characteristics are pretty standard for propaganda. Research shows that if we hear a lie from multiple sources, we think of it as more credible. The same is true for lies we hear repeatedly. The more familiar we are with a lie, the more likely.
Okay, folks, welcome. I'm Alfonso Zianso. I'm going to be breaking in my guest. Just call your button. Okay, cool. I'm going to be breaking my guest here this evening. We're going to have a high-call discussion here in today's discussion. Okay, good. Just lower your monitor there. We are ready. My guest is here. Is a long-time human rights advocate, Mr. Alfonso. Are you there? Okay, good. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming here this evening here. What a crazy week during the week and that across the globe and other parts of the world, especially Liberia. And I was boiling with aim because I never had a chance to have this conversation here. And there's a reason, tons of reason here. Maybe I could be going over the top here. You saw our own liberal progressive of the Liberia Public Radio, Samson Branto, political commentator Sekou Kane of the SKTV, student activist Martin Colley. And we brought in a young Ugandan who is an opposition member of the parliament. As a matter of fact, he was, 4 years old when Museveni came to power. But this is a guy recently, the same scenario with Liberia, when over $195,000 that I see as a brand envelope. I don't care how sort of interpretation they're going to give it. And I saw the liberal progressive taking the partisan role because he had made it known on this network that he's a liberty partisan. But interestingly, I was searching and I saw the document, quite fascinating, about sub-Saharan country. There was a research that was done, and this seems to be similar to most of our other countries, the behavior or the results of an opposition party as well. They call this Afro-Barrett survey, where they did a survey over 36 countries in the sub-Saharan area. The outline the failures of the opposition, how they are being fragmented, how they are being compromised. And when I saw this young Ugandan opposition sitting before an international cable wire, Al Jazeera, despite all of it, things that he went through, it was a hair-scratching movement. Let's get to some of these issues here. The 195,000 United States dollars rationed among our lawmakers. That is insane, crazy. Who the hell did that who can do that in the world? And I see people coming to the aid to give justifications of this. I'm looking at the 30 men and women, senators. I'm not into the soundbite of people trying to single out one person. They have their own reason why they are doing. But that is unbelievable. Let me just bring you in.
I agree with you. It's very, very unbelievable. It's shocking. Especially given the timing, even though I don't even focus on the timing, but actually just the fact that that had to happen. The scheme, the gimmicks that goes into legislators and executive basically conniving, I would say, to kind of enrich themselves on the backs of the people. why the people actually suffer and die. That legislators and the executive branch of government will basically connive to basically share the people's resources. Because I think that's basically what happened. Now, all of the explanations, a lot of explanations have come out. Some members, some people are arguing that the money was budgeted for. It's in the budget. Therefore, it's legal because budgets are legal. That's not my argument. My argument precisely is the gimmicks that even
So
put
then,
out
why is it not your argument on the other side here, on the flip side?
because I'm more focused on what I would refer to as the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is the corrupt schemes, the corrupt maneuvering that goes place within the legislature, that takes place, that goes on within the legislature and the executive branch of government that actually gets that amount of money into the budget in the first place. Because there's money in the budget, actually. It's budgeted. It says operational funds. But what exactly is operational? Number one. I mean, the legislators in Liberia make so much money, probably more than anybody in the country. And now you're apportioning $13,000 per each legislator for quote unquote operational funds. What exactly does that mean? So yes, I believe that it's a corrupt practice that has gone on for a while now, where members of the legislature and the executive branch of government basically connive and say, "You scratch my back, I scratch your back." So the executive presents a draft budget, legislature looks at it and says, "Okay, if you put this amount of money, if the president agrees to sign the budget with this amount of money in it for us, then we will also approve whatever you have in it for members of the executive." That basically has been going on for a while, and I think that's what happened in this case, whereby legislators put money in the budget for themselves for quote unquote operational costs. I've heard and read one of the legislators saying, "Oh, it's for purchasing furniture," because offices of some of the legislators were shifted. Here is my response to that. One, not every legislator's office was changed. So if it's for furniture for legislators whose offices were changed, why are 30 senators getting it? Were all of their offices changed? I do not know. But more than that, the bigger question here is this. If it's for furniture, why should we be giving the money to legislators to buy furniture? Why isn't the GSA, which is the statutory government agency responsible for buying and doing procurement for government, buying the furniture? Why isn't the procurement office of the national legislature procuring furniture for legislators? Why is money, cash, being placed in individual legislators' hands to buy furniture and stationery? So that argument that somehow the money is meant to buy furniture and stationery for legislators is flawed on many accounts. What if a legislator does not buy furniture or paper? What happens? Where's the checks and balance in the process that says this must happen? If the GSA doesn't buy furniture for a legislator's office, we can go after the GSA. But if the legislator doesn't buy furniture, what happens? The Constitution gave the legislature the authority to serve as the checks and balance on the executive when it comes to implementing programs and spending money.
I had to interrupt.
Yes.
When it came to this money here, were they
Mm.
innocent of that check and balance? Because yes, the legislative branch of government is a separate institution by itself to keep close eyes on the executive branch of government, which is another institution of government. You and I know that. But when it came to this 6,500 or whatever the case, the law were completely silenced.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, they're not. They knew what they were doing. First of all, and that's why I'm beginning from the budget making process. It was in the budget making process that this money was placed in the budget for legislators. It's the budget making process itself is corrupt, and that's why that happened. So, and I believe that there was a cahoot, there was a connivance between the executive branch of government and the legislative branch of government, as has happened in many cases. So say, look, you quid pro quo, you scratch my back, I scratch your back. So the executive put some money into the budget because the executive comes up with the draft budget. And the legislature looks at it, and the legislature says, okay, we'll put. And it actually, if you actually follow Senator Kanga Lawrence's explanation of why the money was given, she said a few things. She said, one, this is actually the first payment of two payments that are supposed to be made.
This is what, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say here. I will say here vehemently, Senator Nyombli Kanka Lawrence, she's a fraud. And there's nothing to even dance around. Let me welcome my own friend and brother doing an extraordinary job inside LIBERIA, James Goode Flomo. Before Senator Nyombli Kanga Lawrence, there were almost 2-3 days. I will be playing the audio here. I want you to listen to it. And I'm going to also display something that we always make the information proportionate and keep the facts in place. There was a commentary by the Liberia Popular Radio and African Star newspaper. And when we send that commentary out, because we know the Liberty Party, my own friend and brother Samson, one of the liberal on this network, also preaching, you heard his own sign by giving the justifications of Darius Dillon and those 30 senators and men and women. They are a complete disgrace and embarrassment to our country. I see no reason why people are giving justification. Senators, they are now humanitarian. They didn't need to put a legislation in place to alleviate the plight of the Liberian people. But I'm going to put this audio here, I'm going to put this commentary here, and I'm going to show you something right after we issue that commentary. For the first time, the political leader, someone who wants potentially, the party is seeking for the higher office of the land, statement, and we'll have a discussion. Let me play this here and you will get it.
Entitled, Liberian Senators Must Exhibit Transparency and Good Judgment. A rather depressing scenario of perceived inappropriate timing of the receipt of monies is enveloping 30 members of the Liberian Senate. In a disclosure last week, Montserrado County Senator Abraham Darius Dillon reportedly blew the whistle on the distribution of an estimated $6,500 United States dollars for so-called special operational purposes. This distribution of hard currency to senators amounts to a whopping nearly $195,000 United States dollars distribution during this time in the poor West African country. To put a human face on the definition of poverty in Liberia, the international organization known as Action Against Hunger notes that one of the poorest countries in the world, 83.8% of Liberia's population lives below the poverty line of $1.25 per day, and 94% of workers are poor, living on less than $2 per day. The thrust of this commentary is not to single out any individual senator for lambasting or character injury, but an effort to challenge continuing lack of transparency in the Liberian Senate. So, it is only fair that pointed questions are raised for consideration in this scenario. Granted that monies are legally allocated annually in the national budget to the national legislature for operational purposes and disbursed twice a year to the senators. During the COVID-19 pandemic, did senators return to their constituencies to disclose receipt of such monies and ask how they can immediately intervene in any pressing needs among their people? What are the tangibles from expense of operational monies by senators? By the way, not one senator in the ruling party or opposition turned down the operational money or paychecks. The lack of transparency in utilization of scarce resources in Liberia in the face of abject poverty is unconscionable, especially the timing. Liberia is battling a global pandemic, COVID-19, and the frontline medical warriors are underpaid and lack the necessary personal protective equipment, PPE. But senators, in their wisdom, assume it is appropriate to distribute such wealth among themselves for operational purposes. This is a naked lack of and poor judgment and validation of the perception that national leaders in Liberia are insensitive and selfish. It is not surprising, and rightfully so, that there is a strong blowback from citizens over the unfortunate saga of senators accepting legally appropriated monies during this time. Not everything legal is moral, as the saying goes. African Star and Liberia Public Radio remind the senators that this should not be about political jockeying for relevance or posturing for the next election. We call their attention to the lack of sensitivity to the suffering and relative powerless posture of ordinary Liberians. Equally so, this gross insensitivity is vividly present in how the national legislature of the poor West African country allots and injects budgetary lines to enrich themselves at the expense of the poor and disadvantaged in the country over the past years. The culture of gross callousness, undue enrichment, and greed must be checked if the impoverished Liberian nation is to adequately and effectively counter and address the suffering that the current pandemic is imposing on the country's inadequate health system and its disadvantaged population. Sadly, too, there is no indication that the Liberian Senate has opened its finances to public scrutiny or audits for the millions of United States dollars that they have entitled to themselves from the national treasury. These senators have never offered the taxpayers an opportunity to benefit from gaining access to how to spend the resources apportioned to themselves, and this is shameful. According to the 1985 Constitution, the key responsibility of the National Legislature of the Republic of Liberia is to formulate and make laws, ratify treaties, conventions, and make amendments on existing laws, and adopt resolutions, and serve as representatives of the citizens through which their views should be expressed. The annual salaries of members of the National Legislature for 2019-2020 equal approximately $35.8 million United States dollars in a country where an average citizen lives on $1.25 per day. Disappointingly, in the 2019-2020 annual budget, The Senate injected $200,000 for conducting committee hearings, while the House of Representatives also added $300,000 for the same purpose. Moreover, to facilitate their access to wealth and control at the expense of the ordinary citizens, the House of Representatives inserted $700,000 for fiscal year 2019-2020 for what they called constituency visits, besides the $1.6 million for fuel and lubricant for their cars that they awarded to themselves. It is in the face of this greedy behavior that the Liberian Senate distributed nearly $200,000 when thousands of Liberians are exposed to the uncertainty of the coronavirus pandemic. We believe the senators must be called to the carpet as simply selfish and thoughtless. Recommendations. African Star and Liberia Public Radio urge senators to do the right thing and forego the monies, or better still, donate the nearly $200,000 immediately for the stipend welfare of health workers, local clinic workers, and the most vulnerable in the society, while action is pending on implementation of the endorsed state of emergency bill. We also demand that the national legislature break the siege of non-transparency and open their financial records for public audit so that the Liberian people can gain access to how those officials utilize and expend the millions of dollars gotten on the backs of the Liberian taxpayers and the resources of the country. Leaders must exit their comfort zones during these challenging times and see and feel the pain of the ordinary Liberian. They must appreciate what our nurses, doctors, clinicians, social workers, market people, and others deal with daily, trying to survive under the onslaught of the pandemic in crushing economic conditions. We challenge Liberians of all political, economic, and social backgrounds to demand answers and some measure of sensitivity from their lawmakers to determine if they, the lawmakers, deserve the people's continued support and vote of confidence in the forthcoming legislative elections in 2020 and 2023, respectively. African Star and Liberia Public Radio will continue to expose and challenge the lack of transparency and greed that have hijacked the path to good governance and accountability in Liberia, no matter who is involved, because as the fourth estate, we are under obligation to help keep the government and the governors in check so that our people will benefit from the wealth and resources of the West African nation. All Liberians working together for good governance can ensure a better country for all. This news commentary is a collaboration between African Star and Liberia Public Radio.
There you have it. I'm going to be breaking my guest. Right, there you have it. That was a commentary issue by the Liberia Public Radio and the African Star newspaper. There you see that on the collaborating political party, CPP, public information. Right after that, early morning, we issued that commentary 40 minutes after the sitting senator, who happens to be the political leader of the Liberty Party, Senator Nyombli Kanga Lawrence, came up with a statement, say, yeah, we knew this was right, yeah, but and try to give justification. Let me bring in my man here, Mr. Yino. Mr. Yino, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So, this is the kind of culture that we have in the country. And you know it better than I do these guys consistently, from time to time, from history, from president to president, not George Weah, from as far as Samuel Doe coming to concomitant Sawyer and to reach where we are. This is the behavior of these people. The Senate, the House of Legislature, is corrupt as equal to the executive branch of government. Why are we not holding these people responsible?
And we should hold them accountable. Unfortunately, our political system is such that what we do not look at. Even voters do not look at their common good in a lot of cases. Supporters for these politicians are prepared to basically make arguments for them, even though they know that whatever their political leaders are doing is really wrong. And that's precisely what the problem is. We take advantage of the voters, we take advantage of their inability to really consume information, and we basically just try to mislead them. As your commentary correctly said, process. And I'll look at all of them. I'll look at the timing as well, which was a very critical point of your commentary. But as I said earlier, I'll also look at the bigger picture. The timing was horrible, really horrible. At the time when the country is in the middle of a global pandemic, when healthcare workers are demonstrating, when government employees are staying home and not being paid, when we're telling marketeers and other people stay home, do not engage in your economic activities, but yet we have nothing to give them as a gap for them staying home and them not being able to sell. That's why our markets are full now. That's why if there was actual coronavirus outbreak in the country, we will lose thousands of people again. Now, I'll go back and say, for me, the bigger picture is while the timing is wrong, what if we did not have the coronavirus in Liberia?
Will we ever know about this money publicly?
Would the payments have been justified? Would the appropriation of the payments have been justified? And that's what I mean when I say let's look at the bigger picture. The bigger picture is to attack the corrupt scheme, the corruption that Liberian elites, politicians are using to enrich themselves and to keep themselves in power at the expense of the people. And they've been doing this. They've done this through their salaries, $13,000 per each legislator or senator or whatever the case may be. They've done that by signing themselves $1,000 worth of electricity, gasoline, housing, and everything. What they do is to go and use the budget process to give themselves millions of dollars that they can then use to go to their communities, to their districts, and say, hey, I'm buying you bags of rice. I'm buying you buckets for coronavirus.
How much for bucketing Liberia? Come on, Mr. How much for a plastic bucket?
Thank you. So the problem here, though, is it was also raised in your commentary. What's the accountability regime? If you give a legislator $6,500 and he or she goes to his or her district and buys a few buckets and stuff, does that legislator bring back receipts? Are they required to even account for that money? What's the accounting regime? There's no accounting regime. As I said earlier, the Constitution of Liberia gives the legislature the power and authority and obligation to serve as a check on public resources. That's where the concept of the power of the purse comes from. So they control the power of the purse, and they insist on the executive and other branches and institutions that receive money to do an accounting of the money. And where a specific agency or institution doesn't do an account of the money, the legislature can hold them accountable. They have the power of the purse. They can pull the purse strings and close the purse and say, you're not getting money until you account. When legislators do not report, who holds them accountable? The Constitution doesn't provide for the executive to hold them accountable.
No.
It doesn't require the judiciary to hold them accountable. So what happens is that hundreds and thousands or even millions of dollars of Liberian people's money is spent without an accounting. And it's also a political gimmick, as I said earlier, for them to perpetuate themselves in power because they put these monies in the budget and they use the money to campaign. So they go to their districts and they give people money and say, yeah, my senator likes me, my representative likes me, I'm going to vote for him the next time. Now, if you and I were to run for office and we don't have money to buy bags of rice or whatever, then we cannot win the elections because the people say,
we
"Oh,
do not have the financial power to compete with these guys."
But mind you, these people are running on the public purse. They're using public resources to campaign. The best legislators in Liberia now are those legislators that are buying back a right for the people and whatever. But guess what? They're using the people's money to buy bags of rice and buckets and put their pictures on it as if they were doing the people favor. They're actually taking the people's money through corrupt means and then returning some of it to the people as charity, as if they're doing charity, as if they're doing favor to the people, when in fact it's the taxpayers' money that they're using. So I'm saying, some legislators.
These people, they are people with no sense of conscience. That's the
It's
simple word. $200,000 being the portion for what constituencies visit. How many of them do they even have offices or something? How many of them go home to sit down in a town hall style meeting to talk to their people and say, hey, what do you need in this community? Do we need to have a public latrine here?
Yeah.
How is the clinic here? They don't do that.
So what is even constituency visit? What is constituency visit? You're supposed to live in your constituency. That's you're going home. Should we pay you to go home? We already gave you a vehicle. We already gave you gasoline. Why else are we paying?
If I'm wrong here, put me on the spot.
Are we paying for you to stay in a hotel when you return to your constituency? What exactly does that mean?
Well, I'm trying to figure that out. Yeah, maybe you can help me, and maybe we're gonna get it. And this is the funniest thing that I've ever seen. The senators, they are there to represent the county, right? They are the direct representation of the county, and these representatives, they represent the constituents, they represent our voices.
Various districts, yes.
Yeah, the district. But this is the behavior of these people. And there was a reason that I injected the video of the opposition to a young 34-year-old guy. As a matter of fact, I'm older than him, Bobby Wine of Uganda. Do you know Museveni, his driver got killed? Right? The driver got killed. You know the story.
Yeah.
Museveni tried to give him money during the same coronavirus. He said, no, that's not what I'm supposed to be doing. No. And it just justifies the arguments of this research group here, Afro Barometer. The sub-Saharan countries, even though it's not Liberia, but 36 countries, the survey that they have conducted, the failures of opposition, even though there have been some bad governance of sitting government, but the inability of the opposition to also solidify their position, and that national government has successfully infiltrated them, makes them to fall apart. For this reason, there is lack of trust. Now you have an opposition group of people in both houses of government that should stand out for the people. They themselves, they were unable. And let me just flip the coins around here. We in the media industry, some media talk show hosts, people now, they are in defense of these oppositions. What sort of bizarre world we are living in? How can we change this sort of behaviors of stakeholders?
Yeah, it's doable. It's difficult, but it's doable. However, and the way we can build a strong opposition is to do politics differently. It will be very challenging in Liberia because the current politicians, previous politicians, our system of government have basically acclimated our people to expecting from their politicians basically their daily survival. So politicians go around, and if you don't, as I said, if you're not catering to the needs of the quote unquote catering to the needs of your constituents by providing them charity, then of course you will not make it good. But that's exactly what we have to do. There has to be a new breed of politicians rising up and basically identifying and articulating the needs of the people and telling the people this is what we bring. We do not have bags of rice and buckets with our pictures on them or whatever to bring to you. What we promise you is when we take office, we will ensure that rather than doing what the current politicians do, which is bring you a few cups of rice or whatever, or pay a few children's tuition and say we have scholarship programs, actually create a system that benefits every child who wants to go to school. We have to be honest. We have to be clear to them. We have to tell them as it is. And I will tell you, the Liberian voters are one of the informed and educated voters I've seen. Now, have they acted the way I've wanted them to act every time they voted? Probably not. But in many situations, their votes were informed. And if somebody rises up like Bobby Wayne is doing in Uganda and really tell them as it is and lays out a plan and a platform, that will happen. The problem with our opposition, however, is that we try to scheme. We try to do what the ruling party is doing as well. And the only difference is take for example, let me give you an example of the $650,000 that was just taken. Senators in the ruling party, as well as senators in opposition parties, took the money as well. What did they do? I've heard two senators speak Senator Kanga Lawrence and Senator Dillon. But they're not the only senators in there. They're not the only opposition senators.
So why are they speaking?
Why aren't they speaking up? Because they know that they cannot simply justify this scheme. It's a corrupt scheme. It's the scheme that Liberian political elites have used to enrich themselves at the expense of the people and to undermine democracy in the country. Take, for instance, $650,000 per senator, 30 senators is how much money? It's about $200,000. Well, let me tell you what's in the Liberian government's 2019-2020 budget for to fight preventable diseases, malaria, and all of those things included. It's exactly about 1.5, $1.6 million. That was the money that we were supposed to use to fight malaria, to fight coronavirus from to prevent coronavirus from entering the country. It's a paltry 1.6 to 1.8 million dollars for the national budget for the entire year. In 6 months, legislators are getting $200,000. In the next six, just senators. And now, if you add representatives, the total is going to go up to $669,500 if they got the same amount of money. That's more than $500,000. However,
so let me ask you here. I want to welcome this guy, Washington from San Nicolas City, Nima County. Good morning, Alvin. Thank you for being the way here. What is the long-term political implications? Our lawmakers, our national leaders, they did it differently. In Botswana, ministers of government, in order to help national government or the international government and international communities to cement the fight against the coronavirus, they donated 10% of their salary, and our guys are taking huge part of that and leaving the poor. What is the long-term implications on the part of the opposition? Are we going to see at some point in time the ruling party, the CDC, going to turn the wheel on them to say, hey, these are the guys who you say they can do it differently, but see what they did. Even though they themselves were caught in a but they have much greater to lose than the ruling party. Are we going to see that sort of talking point at some point in time down the road during the campaign?
So I could care less if really they come up with that talking point, because again, all of their hands were caught in the cookie jar. So I don't see how your hands caught in a cookie jar, and then you say, "Oh, you want to blame me on the other person." And I think that's where we, human rights activists, people who are really concerned about the future of the country, need to come up and say, "Look, no matter what political party you come from, the fact of the matter is all of you's hands were caught in the cookie jar. All of you must be held accountable." And I think that's the way we should approach this. And you're right. Until we begin to hold our politicians accountable, no matter what political party they come from, no matter what tribe they belong to, no matter what region of the country they come from, this is going to continue to be our situation. We just simply have to hold. I know you said earlier, you talked earlier about, a good friend of yours who is now, for because he or she belongs to some political party, is supporting this. And I've also encountered that on Facebook and talking to friends that I know. The argument has been to justify this simply because they want to support a certain member of the legislature or a certain member of their political institution who is also a recipient of this fund. And until we really begin to be honest with ourselves and to really face the Liberian people and explain to them what actually is going on, until we start playing games with the situation, we all will be placed in the same bucket. And once we all are placed in the same bucket, it makes it easier for the incumbent because the incumbent has the resources. The incumbent has the platform. The incumbent has the bullet pulpit. So the incumbent can pinch you with that brush. If you dance, as they say, if you dance with the devil, if or if you jump in the mud with whatever, you get muddy as well. And that's exactly what's happening with our opposition politicians. And they need to clean up their act, and all a new breed of people need to step up and call a spade a spade. As Bobby Wine, by the way, is
Yeah, I talk about Bobby Wine and the opposition because part of this yet I have not seen that for quite a long while. You saw the interview by Bobby Wine, very young guy sitting down with international cable wire at Al Jazeera and appealing and speaking to the international community directly to some of the issues that are confronting the country. When will we see our opposition folks? Not just only facing LPR, facing Spoon TV, Fork TV, or whatever. When will they make themselves available? For example, Al Jazeera, the CNN, Reuters News Agency, Associated Press, to answer some of these tough questions because these just sit down on do Facebook Live. These people they don't have time to go for those things. When would they sit in a quiet place to answer to actually unveil what they have? What is the strategy? I don't know.
So as I was saying today to a friend of mine, the international community is not international. International community is in our countries. The international community is in our backyard. The international community lives with us in our communities. So we think that what's going on in the country that they don't know, that they need to be told with reports as happened in the past, we're kidding ourselves. Now, the reason why the international community, including the international media, will reach out to people and try to talk to them is when the international community sees that they are pursuing a just cause, when the international community sees that they're doing the right thing. What would be the question that Al Jazeera, for instance, or CNN, for instance, will be posing to our senators right now? What would be the question? The reason they're interviewing Bobby Wine is because Bobby Wine is trying to change his system. So they were asking those questions. When they interview our senators now, pray tell me what the questions will be. Why did you receive
They
600?
won't even honor the invitation, first of all. They won't even
Why do
honor.
you earn $13,000 in a country where your your countrymen live on less than $1 a day, why are you taking $650,000 now at a time when your countrymen can't even find masks to wear to protect themselves against the coronavirus? What will the discussion be? We have to place ourselves, the opposition has to place itself in a position where they become relevant. And if you do things that make you irrelevant, it's obvious that the international community, international media will not talk to you. They're looking for news. If you're not making news, if you're same old, what are they going to talk to you about? So to answer your question directly, the only way that will happen is when they make themselves relevant, when they begin to tackle the perennial problems in Liberia, which are the problems of corruption and of crime and of impunity and of lack of development while politicians enrich themselves day and night.
What with advocates Alfonso Yenant right here this evening here. We're gonna pivot, we're gonna go here and there because a lot of crazy thing went on in the country here. What you make of the government public relations aspect when they showcase the president of the Republic of Liberia just from a tweet or something that was posted out there and the president came out? Was that a strategic move on the part of government first and foremost?
So
And before he came in small Tobit, he was very careful. He did not call name as to where that tweet came from or where that sort of soundbite came from. But you know, I know, we know exactly. But I assume in not to dignify what the individual was saying, he did not call anything. But was it a good strategy on the part of government to respond to that?
I think the president, whoever it is, should be constantly talking to the people and assuring the people and giving the people information in this pandemic. The fact that the president was absent and only had to show up because of a tweet, I think that's another well. I mean, him showing up obviously is a good thing to assure the citizens that he's well and that he's engaged. But I would say if my suggestion to him and to the government would be that the president should be visible. He doesn't have to go in the streets walking around, but he can be on the radio, he can be on the television. Speak to the people, tell them what it is that you want them to do, tell them what it is that your government is doing. Maybe ask for suggestions from them, what it is that they think you should be doing. Maybe ask them to tell you what the challenges that they are facing are so that you can be informed and respond to them. So I would say the president should not really wait for a tweet or whatever it is that brought him out. I would advise him and his people and his public relations people, if they're listening now, that if he doesn't want to do daily appearances or briefings, maybe weekly appearances or briefings, or recorded messages to the people, assuring them that we will get through this pandemic and basically telling them what it is that his government, that his administration is doing to address the needs of people. That will be my public relations advice. But coming out because somebody tweeted, or only because somebody tweeted, I think it's not good public relations at all. But I think in the middle of a pandemic, the issue here should not be about public relations. The issue here should be about the president really being the guide and the cheerleader and somebody who is assuring his citizens that indeed he stands with them, his government stands with them, and they're doing everything to get the people through this.
What you make of the president comment? He came out. That is okay. They try to show to the world that the president is well. I'm not a guy who believes in some sort of conspiracy. It's those sort of sound bites or innuendos to throw them out there. But the president came out and he makes some bizarre statements. People in the diaspora, we are not doing nothing and we're just talking. If we want to do anything, we should bring a million gloves. Do you think that was the right tone set there by the president?
So first of all, Any Liberian, any citizen has the constitutionally guaranteed right to speak up, to say whatever they want to say. My right to speak, your right to speak, the right of other Liberians to speak has nothing to do with our ability to provide charity. Quite honestly, we have no legal, constitutional obligation for all of us to become charitable individuals. The obligation we have, the civic obligation we have, however, is to make sure that our political leaders do the right thing. That's the civic obligation we have. Charity is voluntary. So for the president to say, if you want to criticize, if you want to listen to you, bring 1 million masks, I think it was out of step. I do not have to give 1 million. What if I don't have money to buy 1 million masks? Does my constitutional right to speak cease because I don't have money to buy 1 million masks? Which I don't have to buy 1 million masks. Let's go
So,
down that.
yeah, it seems to me here, right? Folks around the president or the oppositions or pressure group, if you will, of course, I do not see then some of their talking points and the manner in which, if I listen to people like Bobby Wine, how he sits and talk and what he wants to do, and his tone, his language, is quite different from what we see in the pressure group or the opposition group are doing in Liberia. But is it fair to say that their strategy, the bait the president or the folks around the president fell into the bait of the opposition, making a good and well-educated guess game, say, hey, wait a minute. There are some people already been tested positive, and these are people within the proximity of the president. So we can throw any conspiracy theory out there, the possibility of the president, we're not saying him, so he's also infected. We saw what happened in Sierra Leone. Judah Marabio recently, one of his aides was tested positive. What happens? He quarantined himself for 14 days. So that also kind of validated the argument of the opposition or the pressure group to say, let's just throw it out there. But do we have concern? Do you think we have a legitimate concern that the president should be, go and get his test done to set this record straight and clean? Because if you look at what his name, Lane Eugene Nambe, who is side by side by the president and other folks, we have all reason to also call on the president to go and do his test. Ain't a big deal?
No, so this is a disease, and it's not a crime. Nobody who has contracted coronavirus did so because they are a criminal. So you don't commit a crime because you have a disease. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting it. In fact, I would say there's everything right with getting tested. It's an extremely good thing to get tested, especially for the president, because he interacts with a lot of people. He also has a family. He has a family. He's a human being. Do you want to spread to your family? Do you want to spread to your government officials? What if you were meeting with international dignitaries? Do you want to spread to them? Do you want to get affected and die? Because this is a disease that's also killing people. You should want to know whether or not you have it, and then so you can get treated. There's absolutely nothing wrong. And it's this stigma. And I think we should, but the president going and getting tested and announcing that he got tested, I think will help to erase that stigma and that somehow this is a disease that when you get it, people should go away from you or that you're about to die. And it's a terrible thing. It is a bad disease. But however, we should fight to the stigma of Ebola, for instance, killed a lot of people. People didn't want to say they had Ebola because it would stigmatize you and your family. We need to get away from that. And the way to get away from that is for our leaders, opinion leaders, religious leaders, political leaders, led by the president, to go and get tested and tell people it's a good thing for you to get tested. Go and get tested. It's not a crime. It's not a problem to get tested. So I think the president getting tested will be a very good thing. It will send a very good message to the citizens that getting tested is not a. And if he attracts it, if he has it, I have it, I'm getting treatment. Hey, I'm killed.
So
the Prime Minister of Great Britain just got killed. What message did that send? Hey, this is not a death sentence. You just have to do the right thing. When people get to know this, that stigma will gradually evaporate.
So, was there any clarity here before we pivot to something? Was there any clarity the response by the deputy press secretary? He did not come. He came out. He did not tell us. Okay, in fact, even though he validated the argument of the people that it is a good thing that they are concerned about their president to be tested, which of course, like the minister, the Fagon, the lane Eugene Nambwe, Wuho Finabono, and all of that. But he did not come out to tell us, okay, in fact, XYZ town, the president decided to go administer a test, and he said someday in the future. So what was the essence of responding?
Well, maybe the president has not decided to go and get tested. My advice would be, if he has reason, if he came into contact with people, which you're saying, and we know that some of the people he came into contact with are infected with the virus, it would be a good thing for him to go and get tested. Maybe he hasn't decided, but maybe we should encourage him to get tested. But and one of the reasons why he should get tested is the president of the country.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of interruption from your background area there. I know that you're at the case everybody there. So.
Yeah, no, hold on. Yeah, sure. Sorry. Let me take care of that.
Yeah, that's okay. All right, I'm talking with my man here. Let's see here. While he's on break here, let me just bring in Bobby Wine, this young progressive, who's he's from the ghetto. As a matter of fact, he's from the ghetto, and he's now the serial opposition leader. So let me just Bobby Wine here.
From the ghetto to the political stage.
Hi.
Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, or Bobby Wine, is Uganda's musician turned politician.
That transformation was the desire for me to speak for myself and those around me. So my music basically was like poetry, ghetto poetry. I mainly pushed it forward because I felt there was something to communicate.
Bobby Wine has since seen his profile rise. After winning a parliamentary seat in 2017, he is now a leading opposition figure in Uganda under his People Power movement. It aims to boost democracy, human rights, and the rule of law in Uganda. In July this year, the 37-year-old opposition leader announced he'll stand in his country's 2021 presidential elections. He plans to run against Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has been in power since 1986. Bobby Wine will be banking on a young generation to be behind him.
Our chances, in my estimate, are between 80 and 90% win, especially if we had a free and fair elections.
President Museveni has previously described Bobby Wine as an enemy of progress, saying the legislator has discouraged foreign investors from coming to Uganda. His political pathway has already proven a challenging one. He has in the recent past been arrested and prosecuted. But Bobby Wine says nothing will stop him. Bobby Wine hopes that the country's young people will be inspired by his ambition, and despite capturing the imagination of many, the 2021 election will be the biggest litmus test of his political career. Leon Sanyange, SABC News, Kampala, Uganda. From ghetto to the
now what happened recently in Sudan, it is happening in Uganda.
You've mentioned the demographics in your country and how many people are young, under 35. Because of your music and your own age, tell me what the youth of Uganda are saying.
The youth of Uganda are saying they want better. The youth of Uganda are saying they want their country back. The youth of Uganda are saying they want a country that offers equal opportunity to every Ugandan, where somebody is going to be judged by the content of their character, not which tribe they come from, not who their parents are. The youth of Uganda are saying it is time, it is our time.
And the next election is 2021.
Yes, please.
You say that you're going to stand for president.
Yes.
Will you get all of the opposition to come behind you as the one unified candidate against President Museveni?
Well, it is our effort. We are in advanced stages discussing with different leaders from different groupings and different formations to see that we come together as the opposition, well knowing that one big challenge we all face is the oppression and the limited or shrinking political space.
Given that shrinking political space and the history of the previous elections, the 5 presidential elections we've seen, which Museveni has won, he has a very tight grip on the system, and there have been persistent allegations of vote rigging. How do you overcome that if he rigs the election?
Yeah, we know that President Museveni is planning to rig the election. He has done that in the past. Recently, he did it in Hoima in a by-election using the military. But we are banking on overwhelming him, because a vote can easily be rigged if it's not overwhelming. And ultimately, if President Museveni tries to rig the election than he has been, like he has been doing, then the people of Uganda will rise up and they will stop it.
Well, let me ask you about what you mean by that, because if you are blocked at the ballot box, what other ways will you seek to remove Museveni? And it's worth noting to our viewers that since independence in the 1960s, there has never been a peaceful transfer of power in Uganda.
The law as it is today permits me to vie for presidency, and if President Museveni tries to stop me from vying for the presidency, that will be another bridge that we shall cross when we get there.
But what you said a moment ago, that the people could rise up. Are you saying there could be an armed revolution against Museveni if your efforts at the ballot box are blocked?
I did not say people could rise up. I said people will rise up, because that is evident everywhere. They are tired of this oppression and they will not take it any longer. I do not believe in violence. So we are using and shall continue to use all legitimate and legal ways of defending our voice.
I was speaking to one international diplomat who's actually met you, who says, Bobby Wine, he's a performer, he's very charismatic, but what does he know about running a country? What are going to be your policies if you get rid of President Museveni?
We are looking at breaking a dictatorship and having Uganda under civilian rule, which has never happened before. We want the voice of the people to surpass the voice of the guns. We want to return the rule of law and dignity to the Ugandans and utmost respect for human rights. We want to revive our education system. I mean, it is sad that the wife of the president, whose education is actually questionable, is the Minister of Education, and it is so sad, the recent happenings in Makerere University and what she said, but that explains the regime and the family and the couple that's ruling over us. We want to revive our healthcare system. It is sick itself. It explains why our government officials, our leaders actually never go to our hospitals. Even when they have to give birth, they fly to developed countries for treatment, while the Ugandans are left to suffer and die. That explains why we lose more than 19 women every day, not every week, not every month, but every day giving birth. More than 300 children die in Uganda, you know, and all these other challenges that people go through. If we had a functioning healthcare system, it would be working. Uganda is enormously gifted with amazing fertile soils. However, the land has been conspicuously owned by one family or one clan or one grouping. We want to put an end to that. We want the natural resources of the country to be actually a property and a benefit of the people of Uganda. We are greatly endowed with natural resources, from minerals to oil. We want them to facilitate the people of Uganda and help develop us. And finally, we want to unite our country, because we live in a deeply divided country, divided along ethnicity, along class, along income, along political lining. We want to put an end to that, and that will need us to have a truth and reconciliation program that can bring our people together, so we can have a foundation that will take us together forward as a country. And most importantly, I know that many of our very resourceful, knowledgeable, educated and intelligent people have been forced to leave Uganda because the nation does not offer what they deserve. These are first world brains stuck in a third world country. We want to repatriate them back home to help build our country. I must note that after the unfortunate events in Rwanda of 1994, it is mainly Ugandans that went to Rwanda and assisted build the Republic of Rwanda. We want Ugandans living in America, living in Europe, living elsewhere to feel comfortable and blessed to come back and rebuild their country.
Currently, so much of the system was built by and is loyal to Museveni, particularly the security apparatus. What do you do about that, about if you were in charge, about the police, the army, the courts? Where do you draw the line of who you remove from their jobs?
I've been communicating to the men and women in uniform, telling them that this is a fight for them too. We're not fighting against them, we're fighting for them. They deserve dignity. These are men and women who spend sleepless nights trying to keep us safe. But again, looking at how they live, how their children survive, how they are enumerated, it is sad. So we want to better their lives so that our security is better. We want the police not to be playing politics, but to be doing their mandatory work, which is protecting people and their property. We want our soldiers to be dignified, to earn well and to live well.
And would you continue keeping those soldiers playing a regional role? For example, Somalia. Uganda's had soldiers there for 12 years. Yes, you get paid a lot of money by the US government for having your soldiers as part of AMISOM, but should Uganda be fighting the US's wars?
Uganda, in my opinion, is not fighting the US's wars.
Okay, let me bring my guest here to see him to washing that. Mr. Yino, are you there?
Our brothers keepers. So whenever there's a problem,
are you there?
Uganda,
yes,
like
yes.
all other nations,
this is quite fascinating name. We're going to be getting to another crazy guy who was in the Senate here. But if I listen to this young man, you can see the passion within him, facing the camera to international cable wire and articulating his agenda in a very succinct way, without being mean, without even demonizing the men and women, because I don't care what you do when you become president, you need these people to be with you. You can't, there's no way you cannot dissolve the army or the air or the police or all the security apparatus and say, and bring your people. I hate to be repetitive. When will we see our oppositions, our pressure group, to conduct themselves so responsibly in a fine-tuned language that will even show the very citizens, say, yeah, these guys are off for business, instead of just all over the place, no strategic agenda, there is no plan, everybody's being demonized, everybody names calling. How will people feel comfortable to come home, to even pivot in your direction to give you that vote? These people need to go to Bobby One for some sort of tutorial classes.
So, to begin to answer your question, which is when will our opposition or pressure groups do that? I do not know. I really can't say. I hope they do. Because the purpose of opposition political parties and pressure groups, of course, for opposition political parties, for political parties for that matter, is to win political power. But they have a responsibility and they have an power. They can play the role of holding the incumbents accountable. They can play the role of basically educating the public to also hold the incumbents accountable. Excuse me. They can play the role of actually forcing the hand of the incumbents to do the work that they are elected to do, to basically work for the people. So the opposition can do all of that. And I'm hoping, just as you are, that we will get to that point where our opposition political parties will begin to play that role, to serve as a critical, aggressive check on activities and the funds and the operations of the empire. It's only when you hold people's feet to the fire that human beings by nature, human beings by nature want unchecked power. And that is the reason why we have to insist. That is the reason why it's important to have a second voice. That's the reason why it's important to have somebody around who constantly reminds us and constantly brings us to book. And that's what the opposition does in the political arena. That's what pressure groups do in the political arena. And I will say what the fourth estate does, or that's the importance of the fourth estate, the media, in the public sphere as well, really holding not just the incumbents, the ruling political parties, but also the opposition accountable, but also the Congress accountable, but also the judiciary accountable. So yes, while we are focusing on opposition political parties,
The media, we are not exempted. The media, we ourselves should be held accountable.
exactly. So while we are talking about what are the opposition political parties doing, I think we should also say what civil society is doing, what are human rights organizations doing, what are interest groups, what are trade labor unions doing, because what are women's groups doing, what are students doing. Once upon a time, the student movement led the fight for change across the entire world. In Liberia, the student movement acted as the catalyst for change. Across Africa, the student movement in South Africa, in Kenya, in Ghana, the student movement acted as a change. So what are the students doing? So we should broaden our horizon and say, what is civil society doing? In addition to asking what are opposition political parties doing? It's only when we have that coming together and that mighty force that we can enforce or see change in terms of what's going on in our country. And if the opposition political parties are not doing that, it's the responsibility of the media to hold them accountable as well.
Okay, let a cat eat its own baby here. The media, we have our own flaws, we have our own problem, and I had to do that, and because we also give it a commentary on that, and we strongly frowned on the behavior to politicians, stakeholders, to give donation, to give money to media institutions. It is against the law, and we saw a sitting senator who is seen as a reformist to do such a thing, and people like Rockness C, who has been in this industry, are live on television while on air with T Max Girate. Because when CDC saw Jose or what his name, whoever ever did that, who will also frown on that. But we have people that are supporting these people. Nobody get the guts to even speak against that. That it was wrong. Okay, it was being done in good faith. In good faith, come on, you have non-for-profit entities here. Rocknessy doesn't need money. Why would you get Rocknessy and Team Magirate $20,000 when you have orphanage home, when you have disabled home, when you have other little Liberian struggling organizations that are being in the vanguard, and you give that, and nobody came out to speak against that simply because it plays to their political taste. How can we, in media, we in the media, we did that. So how can we perfectly change situation in the country?
So this is the first time I'm hearing about that, and I don't know the circumstances. So my answer would be broad, and general, and my response to that would be that media institutions shouldn't really be receiving money from politicians or anybody for that matter, because while you might say today that it's not going to influence me, well, there's also something called the perception, public perception. And the public perception tells you do not take money from people. And also the fact that you're taking money from people, there's a tendency that you will be somehow, you know,
And it comes back to the point of the timing. No doubt Senator Darius Dillon is seeking to re-election. So what Gus does front page or T Max Girate when he is any dirt on Darius Dillon now, do they have the guts to come out publicly to announce that? Absolutely not. I won't do that if I ever did that. And I don't see myself imagine doing that. So
that is
it's also his atonement. That's a very poor judgment, and nobody even were willing to talk about that.
Yeah, so that's precisely the problem. I would think that the president of Liberia should look into that. I would think the ethics committee should look into that if those individuals are members of the president of Liberia. But I can tell you, and I you probably remember when we were in Delaware at the Outdoor Convention a few years ago. I was one of the people who actually vehemently opposed the president of Liberia receiving money from the government.
And the history is there. Yeah, they did that. Helen Charles Taylor time. These things kept being repeated over and over and over.
I was very opposed to the president receiving money from the government to build their headquarters. The argument then from the other side was, oh, this is taxpayers' money, this is public money. And I know very well that money corrupts. And there's a way that government can actually corrupt you if they're giving you money. And my argument was, all they have to do is say, okay, we'll give you $300,000 to build your whatever, to build your headquarters. However, come to the finance ministry to push the voucher, and you go and they trap you, and you go back and forth, and somebody approaches you and say, hey, look, you know what? I have somebody who can do the contract. Or you know what, $300,000 if you're willing to let go with $200,000. 50 whatever amount of money, $500 or $2,000, I will push the budget. I'll push the voucher. You get trapped into that. Or even the public perception that the president is supposed to be the watchdog and the government is getting money from government. How does that even portray you? How do your members then respond to the Minister of Finance or to the Minister of Information when they are the ones who are supposed to be giving you money to build your headquarters that you will have offices in that will bring you money? Of course, there will be an influence. Of course, public perception will say no matter what you do, that because you took money from them, you're not going the extra mile, you're not doing the right thing. And I think that concept applies here. The concept also applies to what we used to call Kato in Liberia. You call they gave you money, you're going to go hard on them, you're going to go soft on them. Because you want to go back to their press conference tomorrow and still want to get some money. A lot of that is intended to corrupt the media, and the media has to be able to resist, to identify and to resist that. We have to be able to. It's unfortunate. Liberia is a society where it's a poor society. People don't buy newspapers. We don't have a lot of marketing advertisements to do advertisements in our papers. So the media is poor. And because the media institutions themselves are poor, there's the temptation to then take $1 or $2 here and there. But that corrupts. And that really undermines the journalistic requirements of being tough, of being balanced, and of seeking the truth.
Okay, we'll soon be wrapping up, but I want you to, Liberia is such a dramatic place. Another drama unfolded while our attention was on this senators rationing huge sum of money to themselves. Another Goliath within the Senate, Senator Prince Johnson, humiliated one of our colleagues, Melvin Swar. We tried to bring him on, but he chose not to speak today. But I want you to listen to Prince Johnson, and then you can respond to this. Listen to this.
Liberian senators must exhibit transparent.
Hold on. Let me see here. Let me just play this here. Let me play this.
Look here. When you want to build a house, you should count the costs.
Meaning what?
Meaning when I decided to put my life on the line with the great sons and daughters of Nimba to liberate themselves from the yoke of oppression, from the oppressive and diabolical regime, we were prepared for any eventuality. I'm glad that we are free. We are totally free. We were marked for total extermination, destruction of Nimba and the people. Now we are free. So whoever wants to bring World Crown Code to hell with you, go and bring it. I'm prepared to face the music.
Now,
don't stop embarrassing me. Go and bring it.
Okay.
Don't fool all of them with prick. All of them are coming. Go there, they already prepared for you.
Senator Johnson, in the process of the liberation of your county, most of those people calling for the establishment of War Crime Code feel that you committed war crimes.
Listen to
crime
me,
against humanity.
Daily violent killing people, and Nimba County is declared a dangerous zone. Magibi dangerous zone, Maserado dangerous zone. Why can't we keep our dirty mouth closed for War Crime Code and think about how we will save our people? We are fighting in Monrovia here, talking about 2 months salary for the civil servants. We are talking about material and incentives for other medical workers, health workers. We are worrying about our people. Don't leave this War Crime Code because it will never come to this country. Listen to me.
Senator,
are
you aware?
I will close it now.
No,
I'm
sorry.
Going to close it. Yeah, I'm going to close it because you are a journalist and you ask it as if you are. I do not know how to classify you. Listen to me. I went to Japan, Tokyo. I went to Japan with Wale Duna and 2 other senators. That's about 2006. We went there to attend a conference of many major organizations from the world that organized the Rome Statute. The Rome Statute is the one that established the Hague that Taylor went to. Now, we discussed and brought that Rome Statute home to Liberia, and it was ratified by the Liberian legislature in 2007. In 2007, we established the Rome Statute, meaning Liberia is a member of the Hague. But our war was fought from 1989 to 2003. So the Rome Statute was ratified in 2006 or 2007. That means Liberia is not on the agenda of the Hague. Liberia is not part of the War Crime Code. It will never be because our war ended long before the War Crime Code was ratified by the Liberian legislature. So if you don't know this, let me tell you, that is what is happening.
No, Senator, those who are advocating for the establishment of the War Crimes Code, are they cognizant of what you just explained?
People who go around, those are ballot-driven people who go around advocating for War Crime Code. But I am telling you, as the most senior official from Nimba Country and the father of Nimba Country, there will be no War Crime Code in Liberia. The president of Liberia has no power to bring it because our war ended a long time before Liberia ratified the Rome Statute that established the War Crime Code. So there's no War Crime Code. Those who are talking, they are ignorant people who do not know what to say or what to do.
If this is true and the War Crimes Code will never come, why do your supporters allegedly attack those who are advocating?
If you are a Nimba boy sitting down there, then you are very stupid as a journalist. Because if we didn't fight to liberate our country, you would have been dead. Your father and your mother would have been dead. You would have no country to be to. You would have no radio station called Nimba County Radio. So we fought to keep our people alive. Do you remember that they went to Lutheran Church and massacred people in Lutheran Church? Are you aware, you damn stupid journalist, that they brought 300 babies?
Senator, you can't read insult. Senator, no, don't read insult.
We are talking about virus killing people.
Yeah,
and
but
you're waking me up with prior knowledge.
Yeah,
I'm sleeping in my bed.
No,
you're waking me up.
Nima is accusing you of your supporter.
Is a dog.
The
son of Nima is a dog because if I tell my dog can't go, it go. But that one is worse than a dog.
Senator,
because we should be talking about the virus.
Senator, please calm down. Please avoid profanity.
Wash your hands.
Please avoid profanity.
Your nose so you can't get a disease. Because if you bring War Crime Code, they say, look, Jesus went to the temple and turn the table order down and flog the people. So I will be flogging you out of my mouth. I'm tired with you. You want war crime code, bring it. We are prepared.
Not me, not me.
No, but you are one of the advocates.
No, but you know, for ABC journalism, we have to consult you as well, because somebody just dropped on the line. Somebody just dropped the line. Leveling grave allegation that your supporters are tagging. So we have to consult you.
You know, Pedro, they carry water into point the whole of Boeing Quilla. We intercepted those things and got rid of them. We fought for freedom, my friend. Nelson Mandela fought for freedom. Che Guevara fought for freedom. Everybody that were oppressed fought for freedom. Freedom. And you know what happened? You're not a small boy. Then you sit down in that dance station calling me from my bedroom this morning, waking me up to work.
Yeah, it's because somebody level grave allegation against you.
You should have called me if you really wanted an attentive comment from me. You should have informed me, Papi, tomorrow I will call you in the morning for you to make a comment on what somebody has said.
Yeah, but Senator,
now you don't just call me from my bedroom. Now you're damn equal. I'm a leader of the people.
Yeah, that in itself.
Stupid. I want to make you irresponsible.
That in itself.
One of those who joined the damn list. You're not a journalist.
No, Senator, you can't read insult. Senator, you can't read insult. You can't continue to read insult. No, we have to consult you because someone level grave allegation. So apparently next time we'll not consult you.
They went to Ghana, and the international community put before Liberia, War Crime Code, and TRC, and they choose TRC. So why do you want TRC to metamorphose into War Crime Code? You have to first pass a law, remove the TRC, and bring in War Crime Code, and go back again collecting intelligence information about people, because you cannot just accuse people. You have to have facts.
Let me also ask you a tricky question. I read that there's an FBI investigation going on about presumed murder.
Don't worry about that.
Do you think it's politically motivated?
It's political. I know the whole detail. I know everything. Don't worry about that.
But how is it politically motivated? Like, do you think that really the United States try to interfere in the elections?
I would not answer that because it's rubbish. I know who is the architect. The very architect of this propaganda invited me to Ghana. Dr. Allen White.
The former...
Dr. Allen White, who was recruited or contracted for Sierra Leone issue. They invited me, and I met two white guys who are the lobbyists for Bernard Uri. They asked me to be Bernard Uri's running mate. Then they will move my name from the War Crime Code. Then they will move Bernard Uri's name for the economic crime, for the maritime money and so forth. So I told Dr. White, look here, are you telling me the truth here? Because if you know I committed heinous crime against humanity, why would you want to remove my name because you want to be vice president? Bullshit. Huh? If I came to remove Dole to liberate this great country from a dictatorial regime, from a tyrannical regime, and I left my function to go on a killing spree, then let me face the War Crime Code. If it is real, I go there. I'm not above the law. But you can't threaten me and put me under subjection that I must be running mate to Bernard Uri.
So you think there might be some interest even of foreign powers into this election?
I don't think so.
No?
I think Donald Trump, President Trump, the United States government has said they want to see a neutral election. Had there been a president, perhaps like Hillary, who is a good friend of Madame Saliv, who 2011 temporary election. So I think it's okay now.
A lot of people who have seen this video that is currently circulating on YouTube about how you removed President Samuel Doe out of power
I'll tell you this. I cannot answer that. Samuel Doe, Bushok, Turbo. Do we have that video too? We have. He went to the Greystone compound where the American embassy is, killed the people. He entered the church and desecrated God's house. When you desecrate God's house, God's spirit moves from you. You are gone.
So you pay your debt? You pay debt on behalf of the people?
For every action, there's a reaction.
So if there are tyrants in power, you say there has to also be some violence to remove them.
You know, the norms that are found in a tyrannic regime are not found in democratic dispensation.
I was at your church and I was quite fascinated by it, and the education center above the church. I thought it was really amazing, and I was just like thinking, is that your way of saying sorry to the nation?
Look here, I don't know in what respect you are saying. After Civil War, you built a country. That's my way of contributing, not a way of saying sorry.
Would you say that even if such a situation comes up again in the future, where there's really a tyrant that deserves to be killed, would you do the same thing again, or would you do something different now as a reformed Christian?
If there was ever a government in Liberia again that chose to massacre Liberians, they will meet similar response. Even if I'm dead or gone, they will meet similar response. If I'm alive and the government choose to eliminate my people and target my people, we will remove you.
But is this also what
we will remove you if you are a dictator? If there was ever a dictator to replace Doe, to target the people on Nimba, to eliminate them, or any Liberian, to eliminate any particular people, we will gang up and remove you.
What do you think about reconciliation in Liberia and persecution of people who may have committed atrocities?
I think reconciliation is okay. Prosecution is foolishness. You know what? Why did they choose TRC? Why did they choose TRC? After that, I saw Africa. I was not in Ghana. They went to Ghana, and the international community put before Liberia, War Crime Code, and TRC. And they choose TRC.
There you have it.
So why do you want
Let me bring
TRC
in
to
my
metamorphose into War Crime Code? You have to first pass a law,
to help out
remove
here.
the TRC, and bring in War Crime Code, and go back again, collecting intelligence, information about people. Because you cannot just accuse people.
It is quite interesting to see.
You have to have facts.
My dear brother, are you there?
Ask you a tricky question. I read that there's an FBI investigation going on about presumed murder.
Okay, don't worry about that.
All right.
Motivated.
It's unbelievable. That's the sitting senator of Nimba County, Senator Prince Johnson. I want to welcome my own sister here. I see that Temba right here from the Ocean State of Rhode Island. This guy, he uses a keyword, extermination. And if you look at some of his old tapes, his word has been consistent when it comes to war crime, that exterminations. And when you look at the last tape here, he was recapping some, making reflections to the Lutheran incident that, hey, look, you Nimayans, this certain group of people or this regime came to wipe you out from the face of this earth here. It was mean. Had it not been mean, you won't be where you are today. You listen to his aggression, bullet against that journalist, and he was very, very much vehement. Seeing what we're seeing happening here and having this group of people as lawmakers, is there any point we're going to arrive at a genuine reconciliation? Do you think people will be answerable for all of these crimes that they are committed against humanity? I don't know.
Listening to that was really turning my stomach and boiling my blood. Mr. Prince Johnson, first of all, should not be a free man right now. Mr. Prince Johnson should not even be in the legislature of any country in the world. Unfortunately, he is a member of the legislature in Liberia. No crime is justified by another crime. So let's even say Samuel Doe was a tyrant and killing the people of Nimba County. You're butchering of a captured human being. It's a violation under international human rights and humanitarian law. But let's put that aside for a second. And let's look at the civilians that he massacred, that he butchered in bung mines, in Monrovia. The musicians, Tecumseh Roberts and other people, were they Samuel Doe? Robert Doe, were they Samuel Doe? So, unfortunately, he lives in Liberia, a country that does not hold anybody accountable, a country where people celebrate warlords and people who commit crimes. So, unfortunately, he can boast about his crimes today. That is sad. My worry is what message does that send to our young people? What message does that send to the next generation? Saying that people who commit crimes, people who abuse, people who murdered their mothers and families and brothers and sisters in front of them are today rewarded with the leadership of the country and are actually walking around scot-free and boasting about their crimes. What message does that send for our democracy? Our war lasted 15 years precisely for that reason. We were rewarding warlords. We were giving the most positions and the most lucrative positions to the warlords and to the warring factions with the biggest guns and that controlled the biggest landmass. So guess what happened? Factions kept popping up because people thought if they got a few guns and fire a few bullets somewhere, it will be incorporated in the quote-unquote peace process and they'll get some positions. And that's what happened for 15 years in our country. And that's what's happening now. So Prince Johnson gets elected twice to be senator of Nema County because he tells the people of Nema County that he's the savior and that he killed on their behalf. Inasmuch as the people of Nema were victimized by the Samuel Doe regime, I don't think the people of Nema wanted Prince Johnson to go on a killing spree of innocent civilians and innocent people from those tribal groups as well, because two wrongs do not make a right. The missionaries from Air Krishna, are they supporters of Samuel Doe, the ones he murdered? Are they members of Samuel Doe? Were they in Samuel Doe's military? No, they were not. I was behind the lines. I fell behind MPFL lines on July 2nd. And I went to Fender. And I was on Fender when Prince Johnson arrived. And I was Fender when Prince Johnson killed people. Were they Samuel Doe soldiers? Or were they Samuel Doe's kids? Were they even ethnic crimes? No. So his argument about he was killing or he was fighting to liberate his people or he butchered Samuel Doe because Samuel Doe was a tyrant, all of that does not hold water. Unfortunately, our governments have refused to hold these people accountable. And that's why we are where we are today. But what we have to begin to do as citizens now who won this process is to probably begin to hold these people accountable, begin the process of taking these people to court. If there's anybody in Liberia whose relative, whose mom or father, brother, or sister was...
Who would take Prince Johnson to court?
Maybe what needs to happen now, if we just need a few brave people to challenge the Liberian judiciary and go and sue Prince Johnson for damages. He killed my father, he killed my mother as a consequence.
Let me tell you, this journalist who conducted the interview, right? We contacted him, he's our affiliate network in Nimba County. We contacted him, Melvin, and agreed to appear on this network. In fact, he was gracious. He gave me Prince Johnson's number. I called for the first time. We talked, and the next day, okay, if you want to come here, then we can talk. And they warned him seriously not to even speak to media, not even in Liberia. When he's ever heard on media institution, he will not live. Not him himself directly, but I assume his supporters. So, if I show you the text message from him here in the moment, I will just leave it as it is. Now, when you have people like this that are presiding over the law, those are people that are supposed to approve bill or, how can you ever on planet Earth work through this guy?
So we would never, and maybe I shouldn't say we would never, but it's going to be extremely difficult to get a bill through the Liberian legislature that says that we will now prosecute warlords and people who committed war crimes. Because as you correctly indicated, there are a lot of them in the legislature right now. And then there's also the mentality of let bygones be bygones. However, we do not need approval from a judge or from a justice to file a case before them. So that is a system that we should test. And I would encourage it's difficult, it's dangerous, it's hazardous. People, I hope nobody gets killed for doing that. But if we want these people to be held accountable, these are some of the things that we have to do. We have to take the risk. I'm sorry that if I'm, maybe don't understand the situation on the ground, the dangers, but I have gone through dangers as well. And I told you I was behind MPFL lines for the first part of the year. I was actually documenting killings of people on family. I came back and joined the Justice and Peace Commission and also went around the country investigating uses by
let me intercept you. Was that the pivotal movement of your reason joining the Cali Justice and Peace Commission? So, what you saw at Fendel Campo?
So I saw quite a lot. I mean, we were basically walking over dead bodies. People were being shot in front of us and killed. And I felt something needed to be done about it. But their blood and their suffering and their lives should not go in vain. And people need to be held accountable. First of all, that we needed to stop the bloodshed. Secondly, that people needed to be held accountable. So yes, that was a pivotal moment in my deciding really to become an active human rights advocate. So yes, the war situation really changed me. It really served as a motivating force. In addition, of course, to my values and beliefs in human life and in justice and the rule of law. So, and I've continued the campaign since. And there are a lot of people I know who are continuing the campaign since. For these people to be, as long as these people are not held accountable one way or the other, we will never have genuine reconciliation in Liberia. What is reconciliation? In my training in peace education, somebody said, one of the professors said, forgiveness plus repentance equals reconciliation. If you have people who murdered your parents, if you have people who raped your daughters and your wives and your mothers in front of you, boasting and justifying their actions, that can never be reconciliation. That can never be forgiveness. I was in South Africa in 1998, 97, 98, when the Truth and Reconciliation process was going on. And I attended some of the hearings. I was attached for 2 weeks with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission in South Africa, the South in Durban. And I had the hearings. People who came to the hearings were remorseful. They were telling their stories. Yes, I was responsible for that incident, for killing that family. I'm here to say I'm sorry for doing that. We did it in the heat of the war, in the midst of the war, but I know it was wrong, and I'm truly sorry, and I'm asking for forgiveness. That's why the Truth and Reconciliation Commission does. That's why the Truth and Reconciliation Commission process is. What happened in Liberia was not a Truth and Reconciliation process. It was criminals and warlords really coming to boast about their military profit and to justify their actions and their crimes. So you have Prince Johnson coming and talking about how he's a brilliant military fighter and set booby traps and he killed people and this, that, and the other, and you have other warlords doing the same. They were simply boasting. None of them said they were sorry. Even in this very interview that you displayed, Prince doesn't never say sorry. He justified, and he said he would do it again. When the journalist asked him, "Will you do the same?" He said, "I will do the same thing." Well, tell that to the babies, to the kids whose parents you murdered. Tell that to them that you will continue to murder. And that will be your path to being a senator in a country. Only in Liberia. Only in Liberia.
I know we've been here for a little while here. Do you see yourself at some point in time we have advocated, nobody is listening. I'm out of this here. Are you going to reach at that point?
I've continued to work. I've talked a lot. I'm still talking about it, but I'm also doing a lot of work on the wraps, you know. And we are getting a lot of results. So it's a slow process, especially interacting and dealing with the international community to help you go after these people. and also when you don't have the cooperation of your own government. But it's a process, and I think we're making some progress. We have been successful in getting people outside of Liberia, some of them held accountable. And I think basically discussions are ongoing, and that process will continue. And hopefully, it will really bring to even some of the people in Liberia as well. But there has been, given the situation, there has been remarkable, given the challenges, there really has been remarkable success in terms of prosecuting Liberian war criminals outside of Liberia. If you look at Jungle Jabba, if you look at Tomowayu, if you look at the former Mistress Taylor, if you look at even Dr. Bole, who was in prison for a while and charged with the recruiting child soldiers and all of that, and had to be deported to Liberia, and other people. So progress is being made on that front, though slow, and not the kind of progress that is wanted. Because if you have a war crimes tribunal that now looks at everybody, that's a better approach than looking at just plugging individuals here and there while leaving others untouched. But those are the cards that we are dealt, and all you can do is to just play with the cards that you're dealt, play the hand that you're dealt. And so that yes, there are days when some of us get frustrated and say, why am I doing this? Why am I putting my life at risk, and really not getting what where we hope to get? But there are also days when you say it's worth my while and it's worth doing. Okay. If for nothing, if nobody gets prosecuted in 10 seconds, if nobody gets prosecuted, at least the message is out there that accountability is essential for moving our country forward. And that message alone is not sufficient, but it'll be good for moving, for kind of getting into the minds of our young people and giving them an alternative, the alternative to war that they need.
I hate to do this yet. Let me put a piece of cloth between the scissors here. Let's see what I'm going to call who here. You alluded to a specific incident, something that you witnessed at Finde. I have my own personal experience. When the late president was killed September 9, very few people from Capitol Bypass to LPMC warehouse, I remember that was on the 13th when Prince Johnson, 2 days, he tried to capture the BTC. That didn't work. 2 days later, he came to get the people from the port. It was only by the grace of God, a Gambian captain, Conan Gay, who happens to be a Gisi guy. And that's why when people are talking about you're not from here, who the heck? All of us came from different places and just bunched up in there. Are you able to testify against Prince Johnson if there was any court, you being somebody, you saw something, you able to raise your finger and say, I witnessed this? If it were happening outside of Liberia, any part of the world, can you do that?
I'm able to, but I think, and I'm able to, but in addition to that, I will also play a good of that and a better role, perhaps, kind of identifying and prepping witnesses to testify, which is what I've done in some other cases.
All right. Okay, man. My dear friend and brother, thank you so much for your expertise, for always making yourself available. What are you leaving with us before we let you go?
I think it's not lost. All is not lost in Liberia. We can do better. What we have to do is to look at the situation and be honest with ourselves and say what Liberia needs is not sectionalism. What Liberia needs is not blind loyalty to politicians because for whatever reasons there are. What Liberia needs is fair-minded politicians, fair-minded, objective journalists to all come together and move the country forward. All is not lost. It can be done. We just need to put our act together and work together to get it done.
All right, that's the man himself, a former advocate from the Cali Justice and Peace Commissions, currently in the USA. My dear brother and friend, thank you so much for your expertise.
Thank you very much, brother.
All right. There you have it, folks. That's Alfonso, on the line this evening, joining us here from by PA. Thank you so much for your expertise, and we hope to have you here again at some point in time here. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you.
All right. Okay, well, folks, that's it here. A lot is unfolding. I'm Alfonso Zensot of the Liberia Public Radio and LPR TV, bringing you news, information, and entertainment. Right here from the New England Bureau of the Liberia Public Radio. The last time I posted, I went to do a voluntary test. As a matter of fact, it was something that was offered by the job. People, you use your own description. You want to do it, that's fine. And I got a phone call from Liberia. Oh, how are you going to do this? Not only Liberia, but right here. But I see it differently. First of all, someone who sits on the microphone, behind the microphone, to encourage people to prevent, to create an awareness. I think in order to also make my message to resonate, I can't just be telling people wash hand. Somebody will say, well, who the heck? You every day telling people to wash hand, prevent. Have you done your test? What did I say? So we have to preach and walk while we walk. Let me bring in Kwame right here, joining me from my PA. My dear friend and brother, good evening.
How you doing, sir?
Good. I guess I assume you've been following the conversation here this evening. A lot unfolded during the week, but because of this crazy job thing around here, we couldn't form part of the conversation. But basically, when we look at the money that was rationed by our politicians, these unconscious people, men and women that should protect our civil dignity, decided to take it in their own hands to serve themselves instead of serving the people. What does that leave us with?
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for your commitment to your homeland. Little by little, it will make a difference. Life itself is not worth if that life does not impact the life of another person. Even if you have to change one person's life, by telling the person wash your hand, and that's very important because we are intertwined. But the situations in Liberia is very, very sad, and always, and I continue to tell you, last time, our last conversation, I said the environment in Liberia accommodates what all is taking place, and it is environment. I listened to the brother there who mentions the war crime thing, and also mentioned that he worked for Catholic and Justice Peace Commissions in Liberia. He also was on the line. He saw and compare it with South Africa. The situations in Liberia and the situations in South Africa are quite different. So this is why one needs to seek knowledge in this area. South Africa, it was one group of people who turned against one group of people. So it was not the war, compared to the war in Liberia, where every indigenous group and region began to form their own defense forces. Yes. So South Africa, it was black versus white. Okay. So that's quite different. That's quite simple. But yeah, let me tell you something here. This is Alpha Blondy music. 1985, reggae star from Ivory Coast. He said, "Ile momika bo tuabula jamba koroma, ayafule ma civilinse." That's a July. The Mandingos in Ivory Coast. He said, "Whoever discovered the conspiracies of the white people, they call you uncivilized." All right. Having been that, it was the black regime in charge of the command in South Africa, and the Steve Biko was killed. That led to a lot of student riots, and fire were opened on students, demonstrators, and their parents. Somebody would have go to jail, or sanction could have been placed on South Africa. That security minister stayed present in South Africa. Nothing happened to him. And it was through his order that the gunfire was opened on students, 1979 riots, that led to the killing, in fact, massacre. Because parents who heard the incident that rushed to the scene were also killed. Nothing happened to him. And the international law under United Nations conventions against torture said ones who are in charge of command and who actually led to those kind of activity or who actually facilitate the true or individual who was allegedly involved into the crime, alleged crime. So which the minister himself fit in that definition. But nothing happened to him. All right, let's come to Liberia. All right, this is a brother. I enjoy him so much, but there's a lot of things it's lacking here. First of all, he being very knowledgeable guy, was in a Prince Johnson territory. He saw himself crime taking place. Have he ever documented this crime? If so, what led to the tortures or killing of these individuals? What was their trial? What was the motivating factors by the true involved? These things need to be considered when you are testifying. All right. Who was these people? What was their belief? What was their political alliances? These things need to be documented. But if you ask him right now, probably he will say, well, people got killed. Who got killed? What's their name? Okay, so that is a problem by itself. All right, in Liberia, what is missing here again, the war was embraced, was welcomed by the populations. Everything went wrong. This is why you can't find one single Liberian today who will tell you, say, well, I supported the war. To tell you that, to prove that to you, after all what Taylor and his men did to get to central Liberia, a prominent Liberian and dignitary Liberian got together to go and work on him, led by the former foreign minister, Moses Dopu, Jackson F. Doe, former standard bearers of UPP or something like that, party leaders. All right? Former senator of Nimba County, David Towai, former party leader, Gabriel Cole, without condemning the aggressions on Liberian people. So there's a lot of things missing in Liberian war. And there was no one.
Mr. Kwame, you see that as a slip on the part of Liberian stakeholder politicians who could not distinguish bad from good from bad, but they were taking vengeance.
Well, many of these people, they are internationally educated. You talk about George Washington universities in the United States, you talk about Harvard, you talk about Cambridge, you talk about any kind of educational or how you call it, well-renowned educational institutions in the world. It was represented among these faculties. You talk about Dr. Brahma H. family, he was behind it. Everybody, I don't need to name people. But yes,
the list is huge.
All right. All right. You don't need to go far. There is no article in Liberia, electronic or paper media, that can prove to you there was one demonstration against the war. What I tell you about the people, there was no one demonstration against the war. There was a demonstration for the war in Liberia, in city halls. There was monkey calm down, babu going up. That song, everybody heard it. Yeah, let's not assume that all the Liberia was involved. But the vast majority was involved. The war turned bitter and went to the wrong direction. This is why Liberia began to talk about it.
Was it out of ignorance, or was there some sort of a hidden, or there was some sort of reasons legitimate to them for which they were involved in that as well, or what? In people want to change, or is it that they didn't just know the form of change they were welcoming, or what was the deal?
Well, the first word you mentioned, ignorant, is portions of it. But vast majorities of it due to hatred, politics of personal destruction. This is being the core values of the Liberian societies. We can get together and do and say all of the good things.
What is the perfect interpretation of that when you use personal hatred, deceptions? What are you referencing directly?
Okay, politics of personal destructions. If it's not me, it will not succeed. Let's go form the government. Yes, we get together. We are more job. We form the government. We 10 people. Only one person can be a president, but all of the 10 want to be presidents. If not one of them, the rest will unite against that one person. That being part of the culture of Liberian society, these cultures have to go away.
Is it happening today?
Up to today, it's happening. The last time we talked, I told you there was a rebel war in Angola, led by Dr. Jonas Savimbi, UNITA movement. There was rebel war in Mozambique, led by Dr. Afonso Neto, UNAMO movement. There was a rebel war in Uganda 3 times. One for the Hutu, one against Hutu, and then led by Museveni. All right? There was rebel war in Sudan. SPLA, John Garang. There was rebel war in many places around the world, including South America, El Salvador, Ecuador, Nicaragua, led by Daniel Etenga Menayi movement in 1979. All these people contested elections and failed, including Liberia own created rebel movement, the ROUF in Sierra Leone, contested elections in Sierra Leone and failed. But Taylor contested elections in Liberia. He won.
He succeeded, and people voted for him. They voted for him.
That is the society we have. So when you're talking about war crime, yeah, it is good. But for what reason war crime is coming to Liberia? Liberia called for this war, embraced the war, and they supported the rebel. Yeah, crime by itself. There's no small crime, no big crime. And there's no justification for any crime. But when the people embrace the crime themselves, it is difficult to bring justice to these people. Then the slogan in Liberia, not only Taylor won the elections, Liberian people say, you killed my mother, you killed my father, I will vote for you. No newspaper condemn me, no article for any Liberian, prominent Liberian, in any of the press or the media in Liberia that can say, look, this is my article about this slogan. It's not there. You can go and find it. I'm from Liberia. It's not there. Think like that. Think in that nature. When situations like that perpetrated by prominent people in other nations, you find people stand out to voice against it.
Right.
It may not be everybody, but it will be few people. But Liberia, you found nothing. And then from there, with all of the suffering, Taylor succeeded. It was war after war. Sierra Leone, Guinea, Ivory Coast, Liberia itself. People plunged into destitutions. As family or states could go to bed, not knowing what they're going to eat tomorrow before the children go to school. That itself is a war. After all of that, Taylor's wife is the second in command in Liberia. She did nothing to me personally. But if the Liberians are angry of the war, of what took place by these people, none of their affiliates could come to the government and be rewarded. So those are talking about war crime, they need to do their investigation. I'm not against it. But does the society, if you see, Prince Johnson was so angry because he sees himself as a messiah to the people of Nimba. And this is why they respond big, because they continue to re-elect him. That's the response you get. Thank God you came. Thank God. So how can you prosecute Prince Johnson with one segment of your country? People are still behind this man. And democracy is not always about majority, but the minority also right need to be protected. So I still convinced. I'm still not convinced when I hear the Liberian war crime. When you get to know about war crime, when the country most precious resources was used without any benefit to the nations, that itself is a war, because that is a punishment, economic punishment. Okay, did that benefit the country? The Landco, the LMC, the Burma, the Mano River Unions, or INOC. Okay, these things never benefit Liberia. That is a punishment by economic starvation under the international law. You can't do it. We had no road, we had no clinic. Let me not mention hospital, because the entire country has no brain surgeons. So let me not mention hospital. We have no clinic. We have no schools. There are certain courses can be taken in that university in Liberia. So that itself was a crime. Perpetrated by a group of people for a very long time. Nobody was prosecuted for it. And then crown native people. You know, so if you go back into Liberian history, you see a tear. So when it comes to your mind, because the condition you set yesterday bring the war today. The condition that was set way back by the open door policy, it was a time bomb. It was just waiting for time to explode. So that led to the war in Liberia. Okay, now we are in a similar situation. People don't know what to do, but they want to be in charge of the government. If the government does not run the way it's supposed to run, taking care of its basic responsibility, even though you don't have the facility or the, but sometimes pretend, because it's busy it's busy doing something. Busy doing nothing. Sitting doing nothing. Sometimes it's better to pretend if to say you are doing something. Because if the government is not run the way it's supposed to be run, it develops these kind of sentiment, and that lead to war. Because war itself is not a problem. The factor of the war, that's what you need to look into. If the people are forced into destitution, economic starvation, deprivation, and punishment by their own government, then of course you are waiting for disaster to take place at any given time. The most peaceful people can go to war if the conditions of war is present. People like Israelis, they are the more knowledgeable people in the world. For so many years before the rest of the world could come to realizations of civilization. But they went into war because the conditions of war was present in their midst. Okay, so this is what people don't understand here.
This is, not to interrupt you, this whole thing here is a compound complex situation here. How can will we ever arrive at a genuine and authentic reconciliations in Liberia? I'm asking this question based on what Senator Johnson was saying, and he has been very consistent with his word. After a year, 2 months, he will come back to that. But yet instead, you guys, they met in somewhere in Nigeria, and there was some sort of reconciliation with the Dole family. I'm not sure what was the deal, how TB Josh or even both the other family, what were the precondition, to making that sort of reconciliation. But then after a period of time, you come back and always say these things you're saying over and over. Where is the authenticity into that sort of deal?
Well, I think the one you mentioned in Nigeria should be considered as a spiritual reconciliation. It's what they call reckoning to your very self.
Is it?
Because if you don't
that
do it,
you don't think that should be a kind of divine interventions paving the path, a way to a real, genuine reconciliation? Because you go before the altar, you stand before a man of God, you are in the center of God, and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. So is that different from what's going to be happening out?
Yes, it's quite different from what is going to be happening out, because the both parties, according to their confessions, they have some level of 9 men. So that means they took their own mind into prison. If you take your own mind into prison, no one can release you from that prison. So it was happening to the both sides. Because the families of Doe, especially the son of Doe, keep thinking the person who killed his father, to revenge on that person, all kinds of bad thoughts he developed. So that itself, he was taking his own mind to prison. And the Prince Johnson who did it could not rest, because he knows Doe from personal level, all of these things, they are all countrymen. So I could have just arrested him and then imprison him, or just shoot him outside of the camera. So these kind of things is called spiritual reconciliation. Because if they don't do, they don't come to some level of confession to each other, they have taken their own mind to prison. And that prison is terrible than any other thing. Nobody can free you from it. So, but what should be happening in Liberia? Number one, the government needs to be involved. Number two, the Liberian government needs to be restructured to accommodate the type of justice that the people need. The Liberian government is not structured for that. Even if you carry these cases to court, your chance of succeeding is almost not existing. All right. So the government needs to be restructured to accommodate and to create an independent judiciary system, comprises with interfaith organizations, to be there as a supervisors to these departments. Okay, and these should be very credible and commendable people, not just any Liberian or not just a person who has law degree. No, but people who understand the society and the motivated factors to all of these problems. So they should also form part of it. Liberian government should set a fund aside to accommodate the more, how you call it, those that felt or that were victimized to a certain degree, okay, be able to encompass them, set a scholarship fund for their children, the widow, to be able to support these people at certain level. That will bring genuine reconciliations in Liberia.
Wow.
Otherwise,
we get a
it's
long
going
way
to take
to
a long
go.
time. Yeah, very long way. Very, very long way.
Oh, my goodness.
All right. Now, when you mention genocide in Liberia, when you mention tortures or killings or war crime, nobody able to define war crime. What is war crime? Okay. Some people only point at killing somebody as war crime. Yes, a form part of war crime, but every war crime is not limited to killing people. In fact, you can commit genocide without killing anybody under the conventions of genocide. Mass deportations of people or forced deportations of people because of their belief or their race is form part of genocide. That's a genocide by itself, which took place in Liberia. Nobody talk about it. Nobody ever mentioned the Mahinga group. So when you mention a province in Liberia, they tell you about Lutheran War Service. They tell you about people in Nimba County. But they forgot to know the tiny little town in Lofa County called Bakedo, over 600 civilians, 600 women and children was led there in that area. No Liberian talk about it. No Liberian condemn it. So this is why these things is going to be very difficult to come to conclusion or to find a remedy to the situation. Because the real substance here is not being mentioned by people who people expect to talk on their behalf. So we have a long way to go. Let me put it that way. Very long way to go. Yes.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Well, we have spent a considerable number of time here this evening. We will not relent. We will continue to have this sort of genuine conversation. It is important that we bring authenticity to this sort of conversation. We are not talking about our own personal lives, not our family, the woman, my husband, my, and so people come into these sort of conversations. You must come with open mind because you're going to always have diverse and different view. People are going to see it. But our ability to contain and create civility into the conversations, that's what matters. What? Yeah. All right, Pakwame, thank you so much for your expertise, and we're looking forward here. Let me pick George here, then I will go. All right. Hello, it's better late than never. George, what? It's good morning.
Good morning, sir.
It's morning now. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
Okay, how are you today?
I'm doing fine.
All right, it's better late than never. But I always said this: Liberia's story is endless. Whether it's within the government, outside of the government, in our own individual lives, the story is always huge. What's going on?
Right now, where we are, sometimes I just wonder where the country is heading. Because when I look at Liberia right now, it's like there's no leadership in Liberia. Look, this coronavirus things. The story in front page that the international community now is expressing reservation about how the fund being used. And from day one, some always saying this is what this thing will end up to be. And we can see how things are going in Liberia. You don't see a leader that will try to.
But not to intercept you, right? With the questions how the fund is being used. People who are supposed to seek the inquiry for you and myself, those are the very first people that corrupted the system. So we need to start asking them, how can they even go to the executive branch of government now? Because they were the very first people that heavily rewarded themselves after getting 2 months' salary without any sense of conscience. When health workers were talking about they're not getting their pay, some of them will be 20, it came down to 12, 13. And these people on purpose, deliberately, they were not like Bobby Want of Uganda, who was standing up to the task, who was creating the conversations with civility, with passion, with authenticity that you can see from this young man, facing international cable wire and say, hey, this is why we want to change, this is why we want to perfect change in this country. And I'm not just doing it, we do it for you with our names calling. So how can we attain this sort of a huge task?
It's good. I follow Bobby Weinstein. And
additionally, government Museveni tried to offer him money, the same corona money, and he said no. But our opposition, our imposition, government positions, and everybody, they went and drawn into it because their pockets were going to be filled, and they're going to have a next time right in their dark and tinted glasses, and they will be going fine. They will stockpile food, and everything going to be okay. They have passes. They will still be traveling because they have the luxuries and privileges as lawmakers. Nobody going to stop them.
And this is why it's troubling. Because that someone was saying $180,000. That money should have been directed to the health sector, directly to pay nurses, to buy PPE, all essential equipment that needed to fight the virus. That money should have gone there. The timing itself, very wrong for them to accept that. To accept that money. Very wrong. Yeah. Very wrong. There's no justification for it.
So now we know it's wrong, Pat George here. Now it's wrong. What would be the consequences, or what should be the consequences of that? Wrong? Okay, did they wrong? So we should let them go, or we should be more selective because I'm from this party and this person here. If I say this person will feel hurt, and everybody seems to be put at defiant positions, justifications of their actions. Either it was on a humanitarian ground, which is a complete nonsense to me. That's not the work of a lawmaker to be a humanitarian, to buy zinc or to buy rice. All you need to do is to put a legislation in place that will sustain, that will bring transparency and create the total inclusion and holding the other branch of government accountable. But here they are. So how the heck they can tell anybody to be held accountable when they themselves need to be held accountable?
Mr. So, there's nobody can justify what they received. The timing of this money was wrong. Period. There's no certification. You cannot justify it. But here is the thing. This is a game the executive and the legislature continue to play. They inside this figure into the budget because the legislature is the one that's supposed to make sure every money that is spent that is approved by them. They inside the thing into it and tie to the executive. They say, if you want this done, you got to approve of this. It's like play for tell, you scratch my back, then I scratch your belly. Until we can get our hand around this kind of thing in Liberia, then if we cannot get rid of this thing, we have a long way to go. 700 some more thousand for people to go travel and they don't even go into the country. Why would that money be in the budget?
Giving them lubricants, buying vacation not allowing two constituents visit 200,000, and you having people, nurses, teachers, they can't even get their pay.
The hospital don't have generators, they don't have fuel to run, and you allocating 700 some more thousand for constituent visit. Why are people visiting to do what? How many things he go? But these are the way these guys get rich. Because they will end up, they disperse that money to all of them because it's a collusion in. They will take that money and use it on themselves. Nobody can audit. Nobody can audit.
Let's say operation. When operation money is given, what have they identified? Is there anything tangible that they can present to say, so what happens if coronavirus not come? So what have they identified to be used now as an operation, or they just using their own personal descriptions? Was there no element hook on that money to say, okay, we're putting this $200,000, $100,000 down. This is the XY condition for which you can use it. In the absence of this, it cannot be used. Was there anything, or they just make it to suit themselves? And anytime soon they see little crisis, they just the complete susu. They just did an intelligent long-term susu and put it down. Gentlemen, let's just keep it. You know the war now. We are in a volatile war. Anything can happen anytime. As soon as it happens, all we eat is susu together. Nobody going to eat before they're fine. That is I can say in my own late thinking yet. That's the agreement they came to.
But that's what I told you. It's a cool between the executive and the legislature. The president wants this one. I will call it pork. The president wants a certain piece of pork. He put it there. The legislature wants a piece of pork. They put it there. Then they come and give a nomenclature operational fund. What kind of operational funds? What are you doing? Are you security people?
It's the same old tactics. Oh man, they always deploy it when the layman steed and the layman takes on it. Say, oh, that man steed will be in today. But when the minister or a director or lawmaker, they say, then they use a big word embezzle. What time you have to go find dictionary to know what embezzle is? Yeah. You'll be wondering. And by the time you go load, the case is done.
Yeah. But here is the point here. All those people that took that money, it was wrong. They say it's legal, but it was wrong for them to accept. To accept.
No, now we know it's wrong. What happens next? What will happen next?
And here's the thing, Mr. Sewell, this is the sad part. Because we can sit down and make all the proposals, make all the suggestions. We don't have the power. These guys, they have become rich. These guys have become rich. So if you take on them now, you have to have the financial means to take on these guys. I'll give you one example. The senator that you have on the program last time from Pong County, Senator Yala. The guy from up there said, the journalist I was talking to, he said that he's building a bridge. The bridge costs $80,000 United dollars, and the money is coming from his pocket.
That's some of the things they poor talk. It's just a crazy talk.
So the guy said,
"What the heck you get our money from?"
The guy said, "We want to know Senator Yala network before going to the Senate and up to now, what is his net worth? To say that he built a bridge called 80,000 and where is this money coming from? So you see, the kind of corruption these people are involved in that capital building. The other guy, they call Mervyn Cole, he said he donating 30,000 solar panel to the city of Banga. And the guy said, where the money?
He knows re-election coming now.
No, listen, they said, where the money coming? He said, the money that his friend gave it to him. So the guy said, no.
Where the friend? So some of all will go there, so we'll get some. He the
But
only
yeah,
person they see in Bon County to get 30,000 out of. For what reason? In exchange for what?
No, listen. Now he said that when they were talking about the oil exploration, at the time people came and he talked to them that the people in Banga needed electricity, so they should help with something to bring electricity.
All right.
So now they gave 30,000. But if they gave you the 30,000, why would you put upon an impression that you are doing it for the people personally? That is to tell you the kind of corrupt attitudes these people have. But let me just go back to the matter this year. You know what is happening in the Liberian Senate? The support is appalling for these people to have collected that money and use it. I don't care what you're talking about buying bucket. That's not your responsibility. I don't care you buying right. That's not your responsibility. That's why you have the central government. That's why you approve of money for the central government to use.
I don't even like to hear that bucket business. And people talk, oh, they take the money and they give it to the people that need it. Seriously, is that a work? When last you saw U.S. senator here going buying bucket or your city mayor giving things here? Your job is to provide, to make legislation, to advocate for you things that you're supposed to get to better your life. Those are the things that they fight for. We saw the other day when the whole corona here, what happens? There was a bipartisan, even though the Trumpists and all of those people, they are not friendly, Mitch McConnell and the other people, but they went together and said, hey, this is what we want to do for the American people. You didn't see Mitch McConnell go into his homeland and say, when find how to call who gonna get what bucket? Yeah, okay, but people in Monserrato not getting bucket. Is that everybody all over the country getting the bucket, or is that everybody being benefited? That's not the point. No. That's not the point. We are talking about a national issue. We can be selective. How many of them going to take that money? How much they're going to even use when we really do a critical check? How much dollar they're going to use to for the people who they profess to be taking the money from?
These people are not accountable to anybody. This money they are not accountable to anybody. And I heard that in the commentary.
You know, sometimes it's so annoying. As much you get a big elephant in the room, George, we are in his CDC government, but they are the people that are killing the system. They are the people that get the country to be where it is, and people are unwilling. They do not have the guts to mention to talk about this thing here. All right, the Darius Dillon and all, and the reason people call all of them are involved, but the reason people calling your name, okay, when you come as a change agent, you have to stick to the code. Oh yeah, he did why he came to the media to talk and give me a break. What the heck you think that is that a justification or who? What made you think that kind of money disbursed by national government people not going to know about it to say all he did was to play smart? Okay, let me just go and get out of the hair, but he knew. They knew what they did was wrong, and Yombly Kanga Lawrence mentioned that. So two different positions.
This is why I expected from those lawmakers that took that money. What I expected for them to come out and say, "Look, we're sorry we made a mistake. This was a poor judgment."
Man, I want to go to Bill. The other man calling Aliyu.
Yeah.
Who you coming to defend? Everybody putting your defense. I'm getting ready to go to bed now. Who you want to defend? Oh, you come to your uncle or nephew?
My uncle.
Okay.
So yeah, what? All the people that took that money, they're supposed to return that money back or give it to the health workers who are on the front line of the coronavirus.
You listen. You see how disingenuous or dishonest? And you listen to Prince Johnson with a journalist from Nima. He said, I don't know. Sometimes they talk before they think. He telling the man, oh, you don't think about corona? What health worker? Yeah, but if you forgetting, he took it under 6,000. He gave under 2 months pay before that. They don't even say, okay, they have work out your due to get for it, but then he turn around because journalists asking him question and he decided to bully and curse and abuse that man. He say, you're not thinking about it. Yeah, I don't understand.
Yeah, but Mr. So, here is the thing, and I hate to say it.
Man,
do you see the citizen?
You think I hurt people here? When you talk, say,
Mr. So,
may you get serious if
they
you
come
headache.
here. Yeah, Mr. So, somehow come here, we call some elected people names. But do you see a citizen of Nima coming out to say Prince Johnson, this thing saying is wrong? No.
Oh, yeah, some few people, very few people come.
Very few people.
I don't.
Will come out to say, Mr. Johnson, this thing you see is wrong.
Prince Johnson will be like the late Kennedy of Massachusetts. Unless he tired, decide to leave that chair. That's the only way. I don't see anybody. I don't see. From what I see, it's becoming glaring on a daily basis. It's a complete evidence on Prince Johnson, unless he decide not to, which of course is not something that's going to happen now. As long as he's alive, he will be the sitting senator of Nima County. I don't care what you do.
But ain't got the only thing ain't tell the people say he didn't want to liberate them.
Okay.
So he's the godfather.
All right, guys, I'm extremely against time here. I'll leave my man. They say, yeah, nephew, what about you? I can see the man, they balance. So, just put a cap on it now before I go.
Yeah, let me just say something here. You know, I think I'm happy to galvanize. It is about time for us to find ourselves, to realize which side we want to go. Playing this neutral role is not going to help this country. We have to all come together now and see how best we can kick George Weah and his people out by 2023. In fact, we should start on...
My man, I thought you were joking the other day. You stay with a position?
Oh, okay. No,
okay.
Oh,
no, I just go ahead. Oh.
Yeah, I'm not joking. Oh. Look, the longer George Weah stay in power, and this is reality, the longer George Weah stay in power, the more Liberia will go down the drain. I don't think it's a fault of its own. I don't think it is anything called negligence or delinquencies. I think when we do that, that's like complimenting him. I think it's just the fact that he's oblivion. He's a novice. You know, he said he was a novice during the campaign. He was a novice at presidency, and we would have thought that, given that being the president, you learn on the job, we would have thought he would have learned on the job. But he just inherited natural-born novice. He's never going to improve. That's just the bottom line. And we cannot continue to put the country at risk just for the love of one individual. Liberia comprises of nearly 5 million people and 15 counties, 16 tribes plus the settlers making it 17. Comprised of both religion, Islam and Muslim. We cannot sacrifice it for just one guy because he plays football. I'm a lover of football.
My goodness.
But the love of the citizens, the people that do not know what they will eat tomorrow, the people who do not know the fate of their children's future, the people who do not even understand or have not even seen electricity in this time and age. These are the people I'm concerned about. The people who somebody has to put on motorcycle, on the back of a motorcycle, from Zweju all the way into Ivory Coast because there are no roads to come to Monrovia. Or even, I mean, from the village, they cannot get to Zweju City to go to regular clinic because there were no even roads. They told me that people in Hammer, on their way to the hospital, the people die on their way to the hospital. We're talking about somebody in Kakata, Maghini County, who will put their body on the back of a motorcycle and tie on the motorcycle driver to take the dead body, the corpse of that person to their family, where the president is dumbass, he's redundant, and he's just not making any comment. He's just confused as to the state of affairs of the country. How long can we stand to watch this? I wish there was a clause in the Constitution that allows the Constitution to declare him a persona non grata. You know, and I think we have to make sure that not just George Weah, but his interest is blocked in a House of Senate, in a House of Legislature, How can we get buffer chambers out of that place? How can we do that? Those are things. How can we get people like Sa from the Kingsway area from that place? Those are things we have to be concentrating on. We need to begin to work now for the Liberian people. We are found here. You have electricity running 24/7, water running 24/7. Your car park where hazardous so. And I know you drive one of the best cars among the Nigerians, by the way. But you know, we need to fight for those
Oh my goodness!
All those things, and we need to begin that campaign. We don't know. I don't know for a fact whether it's Joseph Walker, whether it's Dana Cummings, whether it's Benin Ayuri. I don't know yet at this point in time. But either way, it turns out, George should not
we need a new. All of these people, they are all contaminated. We need a new breed, a new face.
A new breed cannot win George Weah.
Why?
A new breed will not win George Weah. These are the established people that the Liberian people know. You know, Liberian people vote upon who they know.
But how, even they can't even agree to. They can't even agree. The people can't even agree together. So how they even going to win?
Well, if we come to the point where there's a
Ellis Kuhlman folks and Joseph Boyka folks are fighting Benin Ayuri and all of that. So
at the end of the day, we're going to come together.
All right. I don't want to see.
I am Baruch and play the.
And you know why you're going to get delayed? Lobo, you know why you're going to get delayed? How do call that group? C what? CPP and COP and CCPP, all the C's
no,
and
I have no interest in the COP.
So that why are interest? Or what is it? And that's look, Aliyu, come on, it's already in the morning hour.
No,
what is the distinction with this COP? These people that
I'm on record. I know a lot of people I watch the data. Let me make this clear right here. I am not in the CPP. I am not in the COP. I am not in any of this group. But
so where are you?
We're looking at the lesser. We're looking at the lesser of the two evils. Is it the CPP preferred?
Let me just tell you.
Or is it George Weah? Which one will you take, Alfonso?
The CPP and the George Weah?
Yeah.
He said, "Oh, should I make I should commit myself to something here? It's like putting yourself in the lion's den."
No. This is a compulsory. This is a compulsory decision you have to make.
Yeah.
Desmond Tutu said there's no neutrality in politics. You got to be either for you or you.
It's not possible. It's not possible.
I'm still looking around. Maybe I think I can ask George Lobo to make that decision. I'm still looking around on planet Earth.
Don't play politics.
I'm still looking around on planet Earth because is the reason the folks the way I'm saying that the both CPP.
I wanted to stop that grandma here.
They are looking at the CPP. Listen to the story. They are looking at the CPP and the COP and the CWP and all of that. If you give them state power now, my goodness. When I say bamboo, they will fight over ministry. It will be more than even CDC. What going on? They will K1.
Yeah, but Alfonso, if you were to pick between the two, by all accounts, the CPP.
I'm not saying anything good set or even pick. To be honest, I just try to be honest here. There is nothing that I'm hearing from them to say, okay, even though I just woke up from deep sleep, I can lay in my hand.
Mr. So, let me say this. You know, sometimes the people that be also beating all the drum, they all will not go to the dining room table.
The post say Joy Lobo wants somebody job now. I say, by the time you start talking something, then I agree with it. Then they pour another heavy crime on you.
And you got there are people here who, when you call some political leader, they get very furious.
Who cares? Let them get high blood pressure. Who cares? You think what we here for?
No, they get very afraid. They come after you.
I beg you. That nonsense there. Who get time for it?
At the end of the day, some of these people who making all the noise. So when some of these people get the power, some of them will not be closer.
Let them go join Timothy Thomas Mark choirs, and then let them just be singing. Nobody get time for that. Look, and that's a problem, and that's true because people think when we're talking about national issue, we're talking about a sovereign country, a country of 173 or so now. You think our boyfriend, girlfriend talk, we're talking that because they call this person name and people develop, you let your cholesterol go up. That's your business. Who cares?
That is so right. That is so true. The thing here now is bigger than
this is a serious. It's a serious thing. We don't know how we're gonna get out, and there's no hope. Even when you get out of Georgia, we are with the behavior of these people that we're seeing. Listen to this. I want to play this guy tape before I go.
Father, you know what I think? I think either Alexander Cummings or Papa Joseph Barker would make a good president. Either way it turns out, those two, we have to lobby our support behind those two. And let me say this to Alexander Cummings people. For some reason, they believe that they have monopoly over knowledge. The Alexander Cummings group. They're the ones who believe that anybody who says anything
is the thing they're gonna. Is the thing.
I think Alexander Cummings should now be thinking about how to become vice president of Joseph Barker.
I wish you luck. Is the thing here. I'm not seeing any of these political institutions with a concrete strategic plan as to how they're going to win, how they're going to do things. I'm not seeing it. All of them, they profess to be a money people. And is the worst thing. You think you can win election without spending money? The whole fight with money, they think they're going to win election. They claim to be billionaire or millionaire. You have to spend. You have to spend money. You have to spend money to win election. So if the thing said that kingdom or glory just going to force upon them, that they're just going to walk over George, we'll come right back and be having a talking point, gentlemen. I gotta leave it all yet for this morning. Already, I gotta go. Maybe they say George Lobo won't be senator for Montserrat County now, so everybody bashing him now like.
John Lobo will not win the Notorious. John Lobo cannot win the Notorious like a lot of country with Joe president. That can't happen, sir. That have to just forget it. It will not happen.
But Joe Lobo ain't ready to go for that kind of headache. Who cares for that state?
Let me just say this, Alfonso, before I leave. All of us in the diaspora must learn to work together. If Alexander Cummings, we have to support Alexander Cummings. And that goes to you, Alfonso. If we're Joseph Barker, we all have to work with Joseph Barker. We got to get Judge Weir out. That's the most important thing at this point.
I'm not part of that mass choir.
Well, better than you being ahead of the CPP going to.
And let me just tell you now, to put me on, as far as I'm concerned, the reason Benana Ure is in the political process is to protect his wealth. Period. He knows he can't win anything. He can't do anything, but he stays there. He's a spoiler. He's going to stay there so that even when he does it wrong, when government wants to go after him, he will be seen as an opposition figure. And so I don't care. His good will always, his bad will be good. His good will be good. So he's just there to remain relevant and to stay in the eyes of the media as an opposition. But he knows that. So Benana Ure, he just there to protect his wealth. He's not going to win election. He's not going to do something. And this is the appalling thing here, right? All of these guys here, is that only presidency that they tied into? Some of them can't go. If they think that we are all here, we're frowning on the House, the Senate, the representative, right? He can't go as representative. They can't contest as senator. And see what sort of changes they're going to affect on the presidency. John Casey was from a talk show. He went. He was a congressman. From congressman, he went to presidency. From there, he came back and served as a governor 2 terms. What the heck? These people can't do the same thing. It's only they got to be on the president before they make changes in Liberia. Why they can't go into the Senate if we all hear frowning that people taking 6,000 and they strongly believes that the actions of these people here was bad? Why they can't even go there? Why they can't even put their political popularity to test? They can't do it.
Alfonso, you just made a great point, but we just saw the example, and we just put Mr. Darrell Dillon in the Senate with them. And what happening now?
You're putting there. I hate to do that, but I will do it with George Lobo. Then he will get mad and call here. When he started on day 1, I told him, I said, Lobo? He said, yeah. Lobo, yeah. Do you know where you're going? I said, Fonso, you're right. I said, okay. Let we go. When Darrell Dillon came now. Today he never brought Darrell Dillon here, so I know he said I beat him up here, but I will beat him up because he guaranteed me that he's gonna bring. I have sent Darrell Dillon I don't know how many millions of text messages. Now they become more selective which network to go to because they want to have a pass. They do not want to be asked certain questions, and it's wrong. 1 year ago, on my way back to the States on the eve of Armed Forces Day, after I contacted other people, I placed a phone call. I said, who's there? I drove to his house, Banavede. I and my crew, we went there. We sat. Yes, because he was in the opposition and he needed a spotlight, or he wanted to echo his message. Now, when you send them text, the local aid, they make decision which way to go and which end, because they want to play into the hands of certain demographic where they think they are. I was just playing my own liberal progressive. Something told of LPR right here was giving justifications of Darius Dillon. Sekou Kanen was also here because people going to there and they got to pay hospital bill. Are you kidding me? So how do we hold these people accountable when we have people who are strongly in defense of their ugly and bad behavior, bad governance, and they still want us to frown on George Weah? Then we don't want to get out of here. Nyombi Kanga Lawrence, when we send that commentary 14 minutes after, before she came up with that post. So these people, they don't have conscience. They know exactly what they are doing, but they try to get ahead of the game. They say, oh yeah, but Ali, the one king out here in front and tell the people in the media. So they won't tell me about 195,000 going to be disbursed from national government coffers that people, nobody going to do it. So is that a justification because Darius Dillon came ahead to tell the war or to tell the Liberian people also that good thing? You see how people are so narrow-minded?
Darius Dillon came and told the world, but he took the money. He shouldn't have
no, well, the people say he bought bucket. So let them put that on the picture too, that campaign time.
That's not justifiable. It was wrong. The uptake was wrong.
Darius Dillon was just wrong. Period.
At least Martin Colley, he said he spoke against it. He said, well, this 1 year you missed the mark, you missed the ball. Your actions is nothing yet justifiable. Nothing here. Why they can see it? The same guy, 34-year-old guy we're talking about in Uganda. They think to bring change, to take on national government in a small thing. No pain, no pain, no gain. They almost assassinated Bobby Wine. His driver died into the crisis. I'm not saying anybody should die, but they have to stand strong. Government wanted to bribe him. He said no. When will our politicians face the international news cable wire? When would they be like Bobby Wine to sit before Al Jazeera, to sit before Associated Press, the big something here, and tell the world exactly why they want to be president? They gotta go before Spoon TV, LPR or Fork TV, and do their funny Facebooking. They're just taking our country for a joke. No opposition in our country. No, man, my hair is hurting now. Jeremy, I gotta go. My hair is pounding right now.
Okay.
Oh, George Lobo said you calling it. No one not going through. I don't know.
But remember, you got to think about this. We got to get together to get George Weah out.
You and myself not there. You started preaching George Weah. When you changed that, when you became a change man now too, or you another planter agent among the what?
No.
The next time, and how you one day, the next time we'll bring you a video here when you are making an argument for you to change it. Are you kidding me? You are the people that are causing problems for that country. You're quick to make decision. Why change you now? Why you saw now that you think it's not happening now, you have changed overnight? Tell me.
My neighbor is a pragmatic man, so
when you got baptized. When you got baptized. That from Cali Church or from which church? Where they baptized you here before you change now?
But Alfonso, here's the thing though. I was supporting George Weah to give him the benefit of the doubt.
Oh.
And sometimes I saw the wrong.
So that was a guess game. That was a guess game you were on, eh?
No. It wasn't a guess game. You know, everybody should have the ability or the potential to change.
Oh.
To make an adjustment.
You know that monkey can lead a blind hand beyond. You know that. Okay, gentlemen, I gotta wrap up. Thank you so much for being here. We'll continue this conversation here. Yeah, I spoke with man Johnson, but the man, the man is very unpredictable. The man said when I wanted to hear, I'm come to a headquarters to a college. I play office. I play interview. Prince Johnson. He said if I want interview him, I'm gonna go LIBERIA to a head office.
I see.
To the college. I say, okay, when I come, hopefully by the end of the year, let coronavirus go. We'll come there and see what happens.
Oh.
He wants to start beating people and start flocking you.
You heard that conversation with that press man. You heard that conversation.
Oh, that guy is crazy. All right, gentlemen, have a pleasant night. We're going to wrap it up.
You can't wait for the kind of thing business.
Yeah, somebody else stupid. I will start flocking you in the player before you wake up. You damn stupid journalist. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Okay, well, folks, I don't know. Lobo, you said you were calling. I didn't see no call here. But anyway, I'm trying to arrange a special in the box, in the ring, steel cage interview for us to have a discussion there to see what happened. Mr. Yalat and all of the other folks. It's 1:20 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's just a payback because it was seriously locked down for the last couple of weeks. Not from virus. As a matter of fact, like I said, I did my test. I'm waiting for my result, and I think it's important. And one of the reasons is we sit every day and tell people, encourage people to take all preventive measures. Part of that is to also check yourself. You want to be proactive, prevent it, than being, if it happens, I will cure it. Check yourself. Sometimes you never know. Things happen, Catch it quick, then later. So it's good to do. So what's the point? It's not costing me anything. They're not taking money out of me. They're not getting it out of my paycheck. Say, hey, come, let's do it. We want to make sure of your body you are well. Go and do the test. The only thing you do with that crazy stupid thing they put in your nose, it make you kind of a little bit funny for a few minutes or so. But I think that is okay. I mean, you want to know what's going on within. Sometimes we feel we are good and fine in the body, but necessarily that's not it. There are things happening. It's the same thing that people back home, they don't have the opportunity to go do, regular medical routine checking and all of that. And by the time the person passed, maybe heart attack or something, they remember, yeah, yesterday you all well, nothing happened to him, he just had the wishing. That's not the case. This is about the system. There are so lot goes on within the system, and you can't just see it with your naked eyes unless some real test is administered. So I would tell anybody to encourage you, go and do your test. This virus is causing mayhem within the community. You would never know it until when it strikes or when you know somebody like the girl that died from Minnesota. I mean, things happening here and there. It's real. And there's no specific place to say, oh, I'm not taking this role, I'm not going to the supermarket, I'm not going to this filling station, so the virus is here. You never know. It's everywhere. You can't just establish the destination or the main point of this virus. So all you need to do is to just get ahead of it. Oh, my man, George Loboba. Already late. We'll arrange something. I'm going to go out now. These are the frustration. You see the other man who are waiting to take out a trial, say 1 o'clock in
the woman has gone. Why you doing for our money? And the money changer that I told 210,000 from, they behind me. Then my wife, I told 300, she selling better boy in the market. She went to a club, she paid 300,000 added at that time. Gas was 2,500 for gallon. And I bought 8 buckets, Brutons. One of the buckets is $75. Yes, and the bucket I use. So the penny will go on 95% of the money. Where my money? Who can pay my money? I came there the other day in February. Maybe come out and me. Oh man, where money business when you can't enough where I say order, we will change you. And when you may I tell you go to press, you will not get 1 cent for this money. So I believe in it that because I've been over radio for over 2 weeks, nothing has been done. So the other day I went to the speaker started making flower. The speaker Cheryl went to my house from the bank. So this money here, I was getting it. He said, they will not change you. I said, don't say that. He said, I'm not here. I want to say, I said, because they will not know you. That means they know. So please pay the money. It's okay, say, argue with me. You see money in my office here. I only here to install the waste and means, and they really order to pay that all I have done. So next time, don't come to my office. So he said, next time I can go to the office. So somebody recommended me to Joseph Pueblo. They come and give me a call car, and I could display the call car. He gave me a call car. He been doing well. And they come and call car here. I've been calling him. He will talk to me. I will sit down. I'll be calling, he will talk to me, I will say that I will enter in March. March, going, money come in the building, they can't get my money. Baba Chima, going to finance, because I can always, when they say budget, I can go see a budget, I can go to EDP. It's about 100,000 in March. Then, just feed down here, the deputy speaker, I saw that budget, 180,000. Friday, I was here again, they brought 500,000 for the day for operation. I said, boy, I can't pay my money, he even want to listen to me. I have to get a crazy man. So because maybe people say, if I take press, I will not get 1 cent. So I will take a radical approach. I will be here, and I brought my because of the coronavirus, I brought my mask and everything, one partner, the security in his fence, and one security from Baba Chima office. They throw me down and take the mask away, and take my partner, the security step in my stomach. As we speak now, I'm feeding pee. He wanted to cough me and all. The general got to tell him he will not do it. He wanted to cough me. So now this approach, I will be taking it. Today, they will not have session because I will undress myself. They will start undressing myself. They're not security taking from me. I must start taking the chef for me. But 7 times, no one of them will go. When they go out, I will undress myself. I have my mind, my power bomb me. I will hold my trousers and enter there. When all of them run away, I will leave here until my money be paid.
Is that the only means of getting
that all? Because I've been taking all
the country of law. Go to the law.
No,
sue them.
I don't even want to sue. Baba Shima get money to sue him.
You got people running.
No, I will take the radical approach. But the only thing, they will not fight me. But every day, I will come here, born naked, I'll be standing here. Every day, I'll be standing here until they pay my money. So the only thing I have to do. The bank, they went to my house with Sherry 3 days ago. I ran away from there 2 days. I spent 2 days to Clarendon. And I told Shimo, he not get time. The only thing to argue with me. And they begin at the recent I brought a partner. They begin at the money change one they two and then from. They carry partner to my house. They carry partner, my children daddy, that would now. They begin in my living room, in my kitchen, all over in the house.
So anything people, they do to you, what you do to
yeah, I will do it to them. And they didn't take what I told to my house, but here I will undress myself like how I was born.
You could be arrested by state security.
Yeah, that's what I want. It will be it will be better they arrest me than they beg to arrest me. Because when they beg arrest me, Baba Shimo can't in that feeling for human being. If I will get the money, I can come here, I go on radio, you can't listen, I will be in South Beach. They beg will arrest me, I'll be in South Beach, my wife will come here to listen to my woman. So it will be better the chamber state security arrest me, then everybody will be aware.
For how long are you going to do this?
I will do it until I get my money.
In case you don't get your money?
I say I will be here. I will be here. By 1 o'clock, I will take on my traffic. I will be butt naked. No briefs will be on me. No, I have the money. In LIBERIA, who make money, man. So what is the amount? 26,000. At 26,000, we're on my BOQ. But the director of maintenance said, they 25,000. Okay, your credit down will get you 26,500. We'll get you 25,000 when you do the work.
It means you get it 26,000, but it will take 1,000 and they give you 25,000.
It will take 1,500. I say, Joseph Bois, maintenance director. So on my BOQ, it's 26,500.
Yes,
but
sir.
But you came to me and say, oh, I will give you 25,000, you can do the job. I say, yeah, I'm willing to do the job. But on my BOQ, there's 26,000 there. But at 26,000, they will pay it, and the interest, the bank added from January to now, they will add it there. And the security afford me. I don't know why they slept with my mask on my face. They take it from me. They will send for a health team to check me before I leave from here.
How many dollars you owe in total the people you took money from?
I took 19,000 from the bank. The bank added interest. All the time they can add me, but I don't know how much they added. Then I took 300,000 from my woman, a Billabong market, in the market. She went to a club. She did 300,000. Then I took 210,000 from money changer that carry part out to my house. The money I get.
The last time.
I used, I did that.
The last time we spoke to you here from the Capitol building, and a representative from the Capitol building claimed that you did not complete the job. That is one of the reasons why. And also they talk about you not, cooperating with them.
Cooperating with them.
They talk about you not completing the job first. Is that real?
That was not an argument. I can take the journalist. The portion of Remini, because we're feeling with the speaker area and the chief flight area. It was money or we beat that all. I can take you guys to the back. I said, almost 98% will go. The agreement was when I go 50%, they will pay my money. I paid, that's my first time pitching here. During Manasalita, LS time, I picked up the Senate and all the way here. And when I go 50%, 60,000, I go 50%, they will give me all my money. Then I will be when I do hurry up with the job. And they say when I go 50%, they will give me half money. I go 98%. The area that remit two buckets of pig, it will finish and so it will leave. That they claim they have to before they pay my money.
Okay, you said you guys came up with an agreement. You know, this is the time now that you guys may likely end up before the law. Yeah. Is there any written document to prove that yes, you guys came up with this?
There's document, and the director of press is in a know he aware on the media. He said they owe me this money because of economic crisis. So if you go anywhere, they will play the clip. Nobody will deny. The speaker and myself argue in your office several times. So nobody will deny. You deny, they pin out, take it from the place. And they will bring, if they deny, they will bring someone that pin there here.
Okay. So what's the next action right now?
To take out my clothes 1 o'clock. 1 o'clock. I will take out my clothes. I will be butt naked in the building until they pay my money.
If they refuse to pay your money, are you just going to remain at it?
I will be that property. Every day they'll see me butt naked standing here at home. My wife will cook. The other day I was on radio, and one other guy called me and said, Papa, when you finish, come, I'll give you half bag of rent. You will be eating it, then you file your case. When I went there, he gave me the rent, but I asked him for a need. He said, will not call a need. So I get the driver to my home. My wife will cook and bring it here. And my wife food here, they water. I will be drinking it 1 o'clock. I will undress myself. I will be here.
Have you been able to also meet the Senate? Because this is the legislature. Since the guys here are not doing what you work for, have you been able to meet the Senate?
I haven't been to the Senate.
Do you have a plan to meet them and tell them what's happening?
What is happening now, they will see it. If you see the canopy in front there, there's a division between the House of Representatives and the Senate. So send the Senate, the representative hire me, I put that there, I divide it straight. So they call me and they say you can extend this place. It will be ugly that one side of the canopy is painted and the one is not painted. And you can go up there, you dress the painting to our side. As soon as everything finished, it will allocate budget, it will hire you to pay. So I painted that start free. Saying we're not discussing about doing a job, I'm asking them for money because they asked me and I agree. And you can go there now, you see the error.
So let's make this clear. The allegation here is directly to the House of Representatives. Okay.
Thank you. So he wants to say I should go to Bemigo will pay me. And Bemigo agreed to pay me. But he agreed to pay me, but he threatened if I disturb, he will put me in jail. If I go to media, I will not get 1 cent. So his war is coming to pass. I've been on the media for 2 weeks. So nothing. So the next thing now I have to do is come and close
stage. Robert Chagulanyi Sentamu, or Bobby Wine, is Uganda's musician turned politician.
That transformation was the desire for me to speak for myself and those around me. So my music basically was like poetry, ghetto poetry. I mainly pushed it forward because I felt there was something to communicate.
Bobby Wine has since seen his profile rise. After winning a parliamentary seat in 2017, he is now a leading opposition figure in Uganda under his People Power movement. It aims to boost democracy, human rights and the rule of law in Uganda. In July this year, a 37-year-old opposition leader announced he will stand in his country's 2021 presidential elections. He plans to run against Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, who has been in power since 1986. Bobby Wine will be banking on a young generation to be behind him.
Our chances, in my estimate, are between 80 and 90% win, especially if we had a free and fair elections.
President Museveni has previously described Bobby Wine as an enemy of progress, saying the legislator has discouraged foreign investors from coming to Uganda. His political pathway has already proven a challenging one. He has in the recent past been arrested and prosecuted. But Bobby Wine says nothing will stop him. Bobby Wine hopes that the country's young people will be inspired by his ambition, and despite capturing the imagination of many, the 2021 election will be the biggest litmus test of his political career. Leon Sanyange, SABC News, Kampala, Uganda. From the get to the political state.
Just like we are trying to have stability and harmony in other countries, it should not be at the cost of Ugandans. So Ugandans should benefit from the stability as well. That should not come at the cost of Ugandans.
My final question. How worried are you about the stakes in what you're doing here? Because in 2 years' time, yes, you could be the president of Uganda, but you could also be in jail. You could be in exile, or it could be worse.
Yeah, I know that every day that I live it as if it's my last day. Every time I leave home, my little daughter hugs me and makes me promise 100 times that I will come back home. I always want to go back home. I have a little beautiful family. I have a young beautiful wife, and we always promised each other that we will work so hard in our youthful days and retire early and enjoy our lives. I want to live peacefully like any other Ugandan. But this is very important because it is not life if one is not living free. So I know the stakes are high. I know the regime is bent at nothing to keep power, even eliminating people like myself. And I know, I've been told before, that there's a very big target on my life. I know that is there, but I also know that it is worth it to fight for freedom even at the point of death. I've said it before and I'll say it again, that we shall continue to fight legally and constitutionally for our freedom, and if need be, we shall die fighting for our freedom.
Bobi Wine, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera.
Thank you very much for having me.
Of Uganda's opposition. But his rise to prominence has not been without its challenges. Bobi Wine's popularity is considered a threat to President Yoweri Museveni, who's been in office for more than 30 years. His government has arrested and prosecuted Bobi Wine several times, and the opposition figure has accused security forces of torturing him. But the 37-year-old is not holding back his ambition. In fact, he's now directly challenging President Museveni in elections expected to be held in 2021. But will his popularity be enough to get him elected? And what are his plans for the way forward? Uganda's Bobi Wine talks to Al Jazeera. Bobi Wine, leading opposition politician from Uganda, thank you for talking to Al Jazeera. And let me start by asking you to tell us what's wrong with things in Uganda right now.
I will try to be diplomatic and say,
I am nothing without you, Lord. Hopeless without Jehovah. I am useless without your grace, Lord. Good for nothing without your mercy. Oh, you are too much for me. You are too much for me. Daddy, you are too much for me.